everyone, and welcome to the What the Fuck Show. How are we all this evening? Go Will. You're in the What the Fuck Show. It's been a while. It has been a while. Yeah, yeah, hi. It's going good. Like my new background. Hi, Ox. In the chat there. I thought your junk was down there. That's the after party. People are muted. Hang on. There's something up with our sound. Why? I know what it is. No, it's not. Is it? We'll try that. Try talking, peoples. You can? Yeah, can you hear us? It's not showing on here that you can hear people. You're still muted. It's only me they can hear. That's dreadful. Technical issues that we shouldn't have. Okay, let's try that one.
That's true.
Now they can hear you. Yeah. Sorry. First time I've streamed since I shifted all the computer around. I apologize to the people watching. So we'll try that again. Hi, everyone. I know you could hear me before, but welcome again to the stream. And Will, go for it.
He totally forgot what he said.
He totally forgot.
How's it going? I am Godless, and welcome to the WTF What the Fuck Show.
That's totally not what you said.
As always, we are here with Jen from Jen's Little Corner, the Empress of Hell, Kitty, herself, hi, Purple, and Sandy. How are you today?
What's up?
We are nothing but technical issues. So my real
nothing
question
but professional here. No, only professionalism here.
Can you hear me now?
They can hear you.
Okay, I'm saying you can hear everyone now.
I'm old. If it wouldn't be
I remember
me,
those.
if I wasn't telling dad jokes.
I remember those commercials. Like, I remember when it was Bell South Mobility.
Oh yeah,
and then Singular, and like I remember
awesome.
way back.
They brought him back, and it made me all nostalgic because he's working for the other company now.
And what was that? I think it was Singular, where it had the little alien, and like they did the commercials where they explained where your missing sock in the dryer always ended up because that alien was eating the socks. It was like
I thought it was no, that was Underpants Gnomes. That was your Underpants, wasn't it? It's like South Park Underpants Gnomes.
Yeah, no, but it was a commercial here, at least in Florida, back in the early aughts, and it was from one of the mobility, like mobile phone companies, and yeah, then Singular, and then AT&T, and then it became AT&T, I think. I don't know. I'm rambling. Don't mind me.
It's what we do. We ramble.
Rumble away.
So shall we actually ramble about our topic for a bit? Because we're...
Okay, but trigger warning. I have issues. I have issues with the police, so I might say some heated things. And because this is the, this is a WTF show, I might, and we should all be friends, but there's some people who have lost their damn mind.
Yeah, definitely.
So I come with a disclaimer.
So tonight's show is it's about police brutality, basically. I mean, in the wake of the judgment for Floyd, And with what happened with that young girl who was shot 5 times, which is absolutely ridiculous. I know we talked about that a bit on B's channel the other day, where, and I'm going to reiterate my thoughts on that. One shot stops somebody from attacking somebody else. You don't have to shoot them 5 times in the chest and kill them.
I mean, to be fair, like, part of that comes down to training.
Oh, it does, completely.
When it comes down to it, like, I actually took some police training, and you are meant to shoot for center mass. I'm actually surprised that he was able to hit the woman doing the stabbing or the attempted stabbing without hitting the other girl. Like, I mean, props to him for that. Like, and this might get people mad at me, but I'm not that upset about that shooting because he could have saved, he saved that girl's life. Like, the way she was coming down with that knife, like, it was going to go for the throat. It could have killed her, I mean.
No, I agree. He had to do something. And I don't agree with this thing like firing a warning shot first. She was already moving the knife to do the damage. The warning shot would have been too late. But I do think that it's... Hey, B. I do think it is a case of I do actually think it is a case of they could have done. He didn't need to do it as much as he did. One shot would have taken her down with less chance of it having killed her.
Well, let's go back to the original reason. So a lot of this is led by fear. If you take a step back, and why did this person shoot the other person so many times? Why was what's his face on trial? Why are we here? Why are we sitting here? It's because of perpetuated fear.
Yeah.
You're not gonna shoot someone multiple times that one shot, one kill, boom, you're down.
Well, with the one in Ohio, the police have other things available. Why did he even pull the gun? If it's somebody with a knife, you can use the taser and you're not at any risk.
That's not the training. Tasers don't always stop people. And when it comes to, if someone brings a knife, a cop brings a gun. Yeah. Like, if a person is armed with a weapon, especially a knife, and Mythbusters even proved this, in close quarters, a knife beats a gun. I mean, it doesn't seem like it does, but a knife does actually beat a gun when you are in close quarters.
Somebody well trained to hand-to-hand combat will beat somebody in a gun in close quarters all the time.
I've seen that episode multiple times.
If you're properly trained, even without a weapon, you will beat somebody with a gun in close quarters.
I'm not trying to be tough guy, but I think if you shoot someone with a knife, you're a wuss. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've been stabbed. If you shoot someone with a knife, I understand they had a butcher knife, but there's other ways around it. I'm sorry. I mean, unpopular opinion.
I think mine might be the unpopular opinion, where I think that it was a clean shoot. Like, I do. Like, it is tragic, it is sad, but ultimately the cop showed up. There was a scuffle going on. You see one woman get knocked down and kicked in the head repeatedly, and then you see another woman start, trying to stab another woman. There was a lot going on, and all of it happened within the span of like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. You have to react, and in that case, he was trying to save the girl who was in risk of imminent, death or serious, grievous bodily harm.
So, B, hold on. Hi, B.
Hi, B.
Hi, buddy.
What were you trying to say?
Sorry, B.
Okay, a couple of things. So I watched this. I watched the whole video in like a couple screens. A couple. What am I looking for? I just had that word. Huh?
Commentary videos.
Frames. A couple frames at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing I want to say is Columbus PD regulations are stating that if someone is wielding a knife and is going to cause deadly harm, they are to shoot. Now, so let's start there. He didn't need to shoot her fucking 5 times. First of all, a hip shot or I'm trying to kill my Twitter because it's sucking up my damn bandwidth right now. A hip shot, shoulder shot, leg shot would have stopped her just as quickly. I also think that a warning shot in the air would have been a good idea. Because you notice, as soon as he pulled that trigger, that guy that was kicking the shit out of the girl at the ground, that motherfucker stopped and jumped back like this real fast. I think if he just would have popped one in the air, they both would have dead stopped. And it would have
You can't shoot into the air because that bullet could come down and it could kill somebody, that has absolutely nothing to do with it.
5 times. Then shoot her in the leg. He could have shot her in the damn foot. Her foot was closest to him than anything. Because she was pushing away from him stabbing. And doing this with the knife. What's that?
That might not have stopped her. When it comes down to it, this wasn't just a person like flashing a knife around, like making threats. She was literally coming down to make, a stab into this woman's neck. Like, I mean, hey, I
agree. She had the knife all the way back here at about this angle when he shot her. But still, yes, she was going to shoot her. She was going to stab her. I understand that. I think that if he would have done a butt or hip or leg, whatever shot somewhere not in her torso, he would have knocked her ass down. She would have ceased, and both of them would be alive.
Torso shots are part of the police training. It is.
I understand that. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm saying it's wrong.
Yeah, I don't think this is.
You can't just shoot to kill everybody. It shouldn't be like that.
I think the clarification here is in this particular instance, the police officer, apart from maybe being a bit overzealous with the number of shots he fired, is not at fault. He did what he was trained to do and what he was meant to do. There is no thing that he is at fault. What's at fault here is the way they've trained.
Yes,
but that's why it's important to take everything in a case by case basis.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, stop shooting people of color. Because
I just wish everybody quit shooting everybody.
If we're gonna talk about that, can I talk about deaths in custody?
Oh God. Don't get me started.
And I'm gonna pull it away from the US for a bit, and I'm gonna discuss deaths in custody in Australia. Indigenous deaths in custody are 16 times higher than they are for the rest of the Australian population. So 16 more Aboriginal people in Australia die than non-Aboriginal people in custody. They are not 16 times the population in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask what the percentages were.
It is. I think it is about 2 to 1. There are more of them in prison, and that's partly a racist thing as well. But I'm not even talking about that. I am talking about the number of them that die during custody, which is purely a racism issue. It is the way that police in certain areas treat Indigenous people when they are brought in. And it is definitely a problem. And it is also a case of police brutality. There was an inquiry in Australia a few years back that some states have actually gotten better. My own state, I think the rate is only about 3 times higher, only about. But when you consider there's twice as many in anyway, that's not as bad as if you say, I think it's in South, I have the figures in front of me somewhere here. What is it?
Okay.
I did have it. Pooh, I don't anymore. I think it's South Australia where the figure was 36 times more likely to die in custody if you're an Aboriginal person than if you're non-Aboriginal. 36 times. Where's the justification in that? You cannot justify that.
No.
See, I have a question. This is a kind of a weird question. Santi, how are you doing?
Hi, Santi.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right. How do people treat you on an everyday basis, based on how you speak?
Oh yeah. Sorry. A lot of people treat me different, like before and after I speak.
Mm-hmm. And the whole reason
I'm on the lighter side of Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a whole thing. Like it's like a complete different reaction when they know that I'm Hispanic.
The whole reason I asked that, because as human beings, we live stereotypes. We treat each other differently based on what the information we have received. Do you know how many people have told me to my face, "I'm surprised you spoke English"? And it's happened more. It's happened more recently. Oh, it's happened more recently, like in the past, like 10 years. But there was someone who I became friends with, and they looked at me and they're like, when I first met you, I didn't think you spoke a word of English.
Wow.
But yeah, but there's stereotypes. People have certain conceptions in their head of how people are supposed to be, and that's the problem. We other people, and once we other them, we think we can do anything to somebody once we dehumanize them.
Exactly.
Once people are a they, you could kill them in custody. You could beat the crap out of them. You could do anything to anybody.
The thing that blows my mind is people that treat people of color horribly are like animal advocates.
Yeah.
Or people in general
that
people that are advocates for
and
anything.
They can't wait to tell you about it. It's like
right. But I'll sling up a black person. What the? I don't even understand.
You've got to remember, B, for a lot of these people, especially if you're talking about white rich socialite types who, oh yes, my cause is Karens, fucking Karens,
and Jens.
Yeah, they're basically, they're like, oh, I went to a dinner on the weekend. We were raising money for these poor animals in Africa. And that's about the fucking dinner. It's not about raising fucking money. It's so you can go home on the weekend.
People in Africa, but by God.
Yeah, it's so they can go home on the weekend and fiddle their button and get the jollies off it. It's not about helping people. It's self-gratification.
Yeah, it makes them feel above and powerful, and I'm better than you, and I'm going to help you because you poor thing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with Christianity and abortion, but then they could care less about a person after they're born.
Yeah, they're not pro-life; they're pro-birth.
Yeah,
if their daughter though, then their daughter's going to go to a private clinic and have the abortion, and it's going to be mum's the word. Have sex right after that.
Yeah. Also, that pro-life people always oppose gun control.
These same people are the ones who they don't want Medicare for all because they already the haves. So we have. So why should we be helping those who are the have-nots? Because fuck the have-nots. But let's go and raise money for the poor little children in Ethiopia who we actually don't give a shit about because it's all about our social image.
It's funny to me that the people that are pro-gun, like, don't take my guns away, I voted for Trump people, it kills me because they want to have guns, but they don't want anybody that's poor to have guns.
No.
The state of...
Nobody in the hood, nobody in the ghetto, nobody in the poor area, nobody in the slums.
So I know a few people can answer this question. Why is it illegal to have semi-automatic weapons in the state of California? Why?
Because
they kill people?
School shootings?
Hold on, let me look up at the year. Because the Black Panthers walked into the California State Senate with weapons.
Wow.
And ever since then, the state of California has outlawed basically certain types of weapons. So you can't have, and that's why we're part of the 12 states where you can't have military style weapons. But we were one of the first because a group of black men walked in with automatic weapons into the state capitol and said, honor our rights because we're Americans. And so they just made it illegal to carry those guns.
I've been saying if the shootings took place on golf courses and at prep schools, we'd have gun control overnight.
Oh yeah.
Very much the not in my backyard mentality.
It is because they send their kids to these really expensive fucking private schools with well-paid security guards and metal detectors at the doors and shit, and they're not worried about their kids, and they don't give a fuck about anybody else's, unless, of course, they're still in the womb.
And the pro-life people also don't care about the harm being done to the environment.
No.
Like, before we started rolling, I was talking about how there's 33 million gallons of radioactive waste that is being pumped into the Tampa Bay waterways as we speak. and the fucking pro-life Republican crowd, in Florida, aren't doing shit about it. Like they didn't do shit to stop.
Oh no, they are doing shit about it. They're complaining about the lefties that are out there protesting it.
As their pockets are getting lined. See, the problem is these people are being paid. They can just move somewhere else. There's people that are gonna, they have to live there.
You're gonna run out of places to move when we fuck up the entire planet, and we're getting there, and that's the point. We can only do so much, and then the world goes, well, fuck you, because the planet's going to be here long after we're gone, so it doesn't give a shit. It'll get over it eventually. It can take 1,000,000 years. We can't.
Yeah.
Well, they also don't get that things are connected in the environment.
Yeah.
That by screwing up the climate, we're going to mess up everything.
And then, like our ancestors before us, we really will be fighting for resources.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Face to face.
Water war.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the scariest documentaries I've ever seen in my life was what happens when fresh water runs out.
Oh,
it goes to shit.
Our infrastructure. Yeah, our infrastructure disappears.
Well, we constantly battle with fresh water in Australia because one of the driest continents in the world, outside of Antarctica.
Yeah. Well,
and we have water restrictions all year round in where I live, because you have to, because otherwise you run out of fresh water. So
same here.
We have fresh water, but the wells here are dug like 550 feet down.
We have restrictions because of Nestle.
Well, that's right. I'm wondering, like, pollution in the Great Lakes. Like, what happens when Lake Michigan gets so polluted the city of Chicago can't draw their drinking water from it?
Everyone's going to have to move or, put a water reclamation plant right there on the lake.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
One thing I wish that, if racism can do any good, I'm, fine with, leaning into that rhetoric, and I'll explain because it sounds really bad until I get to the point.
Yeah, it really does.
No, it's because of all of these people that they don't like the idea of brown-skinned people coming to the United States. Well, when climate change continues and temperatures get worse and worse, where do you think all of the people in the Middle East are going to go when it becomes uninhabitable because the temperature's too high? I mean, it's fucking desert. They're going to come here. They're going to go to the first world countries. So if you don't want those people in your country, then maybe do something about climate change now before it's too late,
But, I mean, for some of it is, we're almost too late anyway.
No, it is.
There is a certain degree of climate change we are going to have that's going to be around for centuries that there is nothing we can do about anymore. That we cannot change it, even with with the technology we currently have. So we are fucked.
We can
to a
slow
certain
it down.
degree. We can slow it down. We can't stop it.
That's right.
We're going to start moving towards the hills, and if people wearing masks proves anything to you, is that people are stupid. They're not going to believe it till it's too late. So. We're effed as a species. Like
we can't cope with a pandemic. That's no wonder we can't cope with climate change. You can see people dying from the pandemic. It's no wonder we have climate change deniers.
Yeah, I think the problem we have is it's who they choose to believe. That they'll pick a couple of public figures that will decide to believe everything they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Trump.
The Ben Shapiro's of the world, where they're like, well, I mean, if the water level rises, just sell your house and buy a new one that's not underwater. It's like, who the fuck's gonna buy the property, genius? It's underwater.
Yeah, but they don't care.
The
Kens and Karens don't care about that.
Yeah, but Ben Shapiro stands in front of Home Depot like a moron.
Yeah, I saw that. What the fuck was that about?
Yeah, what was that about? Like with the bag and the wood thingy.
So
anybody read about it?
So basically, they're like one of the only companies to not slap Georgia's hand. But Home Depot, they're a heartless corporation. Good for them. They could care less. Major League Baseball, other other corporations made statements. And so Ben Shapiro is latching on to the fact that Home Depot didn't say anything. They weren't for it and they're not against it. They just didn't say anything. But he, in his weirdo right-wing way, he went to Home Depot and stood there like a moron. And the funny thing is, he lives somewhere around here. Because I saw that and I'm like, of course, all Home Depots look alike in Southern California, but he lives like within a half hour of my house. So he lives around a gang of Mexican and Korean and Chinese people. So my whole point is he's literally standing in front of Home Depot and he's like, I'm going to go spend money in Home Depot and change the world. And he comes out with a plank of wood and some bolts.
$12.55 with tax.
I'm gonna on some real stuff. I went to Home Depot last week because I drove past Lowe's and there was a line on both sides. I was like, they must be giving away something free at Lowe's, so I just kept going. I went to Home Depot, didn't even think about it. I spent a lot more money than Ben Shapiro, and I could care less. Like if who they support, who they don't. I'm just glad they were open. He's a moron. He's a moron. Not everything is a political statement. Live your life in peace and stop trying to own the libs.
Thank you.
Like I won't eat at Chick-fil-A,
Neither will I.
But
I have never eaten at Chick-fil-A.
I mean, and
I don't either.
I admit, I cringe a little when friends and family members eat there, but I'm not going to tell them you can't eat there. It's just I personally won't. Just like, I would not allow my son to be a Boy Scout because I have issues with that organization and the fact that it's a religious organization that has discriminated against LGBT people and they were getting fucking government funding while doing so. And they were
fiddling with the little boys in the UK
that
anyway.
Too.
Yeah.
That too. So I would never support the Boy Scouts or, let my son be a Boy Scout. And I don't support the Salvation Army for a similar reason. Their stance on LGBT stuff. I literally have lots of things that I will not support with my money. But, it's impossible to keep up with everything. And when a company does or doesn't do something,
are also horrible to the people they work for them.
So for as much as I thrift shop, I don't go to the Goodwill. At all, just because I know they pay people with disabilities less than half. So
I find the mom and pop shops.
Let's say our children, Kitty, go and work there. They're gonna pay our sons half of what everybody else to work just
and work
as hard.
Them to the bone.
Damn right.
Slave
so
labor.
I don't support the Goodwill at all. I don't know the Salvation Army's policies, but I know the Goodwill's policies through and through.
Yeah, the Salvation Army has supported some really horrible anti-LGBTQ plus stuff in the past. And things might be getting better now, but that's a stain that carries tarnish for a while for me. It's gonna not that I'm ever gonna be religious again, but I wouldn't support, a Catholic charity, a Catholic run charity for the same reason. I wouldn't want, even if they were doing good things like a soup kitchen or what have you, the fact that they've discriminated against LGBTQ plus people, the fact that they have fought, so hard to, get people to want abortion outlawed, and their stance on birth control and sex ed and women's rights, the fact that they molest kids and play a shell game with the pedo priests, literally, I could not support them even if they were doing something worthwhile.
I gotta tell you guys something. So
you got a job?
South of me outside of Albuquerque. What's that?
You got a job.
She has.
Yes, I do actually. I do have a new job. Yeah. But anyways, this isn't about me. So there's mountains down southwest of me called the Jemez Mountains. Mm-hmm. And at the base of the Jemez Mountains, there is a Catholic diocese. What do they call them?
The Archdiocese?
No. Monastery?
Yes, thank you. Where the monks or the priests go. Monastery.
Yeah, monastery.
There's a monastery there. Well, my ex was watching a documentary about the priests There's a documentary out there on like the History Channel or something like that about the Catholic priests and molesting children and blah, blah, blah. Well, so they didn't say where it was, but they showed where they're staying. They're fucking staying right down there. I want to drop a bomb on it because I know where it is.
Yikes.
And so she was like, I'm telling you, she's drove by this place her entire life since she was a kid. Like, they used to go there on vacations and go up the mountain. And so she saw it on TV. She was like, what the fuck? So she drove by and she was like, I fucking knew that's where it was. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to get all
hour
like
and a half, hour and 45 minutes away from me.
I'm not trying to get all Megan's Law on you, but how far is it to an elementary school? You can call the feds and be like, hey.
Oh, there's no schools anywhere near that.
Oh, that's what because around here
not.
they try to sneak people in to certain neighborhoods, and man, we come together and kick them out. And I'm going to tell you I'm ruthless towards child molesters.
The area it's in is so poor, and you see all these houses, and they're like falling apart, and there's like many little family farms dotted here and there, and you can tell people are starving. And then you see like all of these rows of cottages and this huge expensive Catholic church right beside the road.
Oh, that's old school.
Oh yeah. They spent a lot of money to keep all those fuckers down there.
There was actually a priest that I grew up with that was accused. He was there one day and he disappeared. Never saw him again. No one ever spoke of him again. They never said they. I asked somebody.
They probably shifted him to the third world.
Quite literally 30 years later, I asked somebody when we were making the arrangements for my dad's service. I asked the lady, I'm like, so what happened to Father so-and-so? Because she was so gossipy. I'm like this chatty.
She'll tell you.
Yeah, she's gonna tell me the truth.
There's one in every church.
Well, she's known me my entire life, and she's just downloading because she feels bad. She doesn't know what's going. She knows my dad's past. She's telling me everything. So I asked her. They sent him to Long Beach. He did it again, and then they sent him overseas.
Damn.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or maybe at the base of Hemis
probably somewhere in Africa.
That's what I'm saying, and that's another thing. They send them off to countries where they're not readily identifiable like here, because
that and pedophilias might be legal in those states or those countries.
Or even if it isn't, the police aren't going to do anything about it.
Yeah, not to the Catholic Church, but in Africa.
Oh no, the richest corporation in the world.
Most African countries are staunch anti-LGBTQIA++. Like, there are laws against being gay in Zimbabwe, Nigeria,
and
the
they mean
list
it.
goes. Oh, they're not playing. They're not playing. And those are in Christian. Sorry, those are in Christian countries, not just the countries that practice Sharia law. Like, I'm talking about Christian countries.
Right. Bit of a plug for a small channel. The Southern Hemisphere Globehead goes over that a lot about the churches in Africa and the kind of things that they actively promote that are just appalling.
Yeah.
I watch Nigerian television, and there's this rapper who was living in America. He was on a couple of Jay-Z's albums. His name's Bamboo, but him and his wife both say that they were possessed by devils, and that every rapper in America that's famous is gay. And he said that because he had to go home to Africa because he didn't make it in New York. So he came back to Africa saying, "Oh, I'm saved. I'm a Christian." No, you were doing yay off of strippers' butts for 10 years. You were having the time of your life. You didn't make it. You were, you didn't
belly shots.
Yeah, because I looked him up and he's in a couple of videos. He's in a couple of videos, and because he's from Africa, he had that appeal, but he just didn't make it. And he's on African television just woofing, saying, "I was possessed by Satan." Like, it's just...
Oh, my God.
They're the worst.
Does everybody here know about the African humanist?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Esther?
No.
Man, you guys go look at her videos sometimes of what they do in those African churches. They're, like, stomping on people, pretending to, like, stomp the demon out of them.
See, the problem is,
it's crazy,
and it's
dude.
happening right now in Mexico too, but people are fighting back. Evangelical Christians are they're going anywhere where they're allowed to be. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
Anywhere.
they prey on people that are miserable and sad and poor, and then they take the last dime they have. That's what they do. Because those people need a crutch. That's the perfect person for a Christian to go preach to. Somebody needs a crutch.
I ask people all the time about evangelicals, and in the Mexican community, they kind of laugh because a lot of Hispanic people become Jehovah's Witnesses, but a lot are becoming evangelicals now. And it's the strangest effing thing. So I ask people now, it's like a running joke, like, you evangelical? It's like a running joke. But they're going, it's the new Mormonism. They're going anywhere people will allow them to be. Just flat out. And to islands they shouldn't be, like that Andrew, what's his face? Jeff did a
not gonna lie. Him getting turned into a pincushion, I didn't feel bad for. Like he brought that on himself. Yeah. Just saying.
Same.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, I gotta look it up now. There was a missionary. I actually like telling this story. I'm kind of morbid.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the guy that was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go introduce these tribal people to Christianity"? Yeah, and they like slaughtered him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Darwin Award level.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Really, he could have wiped out their entire population with his outside germs. They are so
getting out of the boat, they actually fired a couple of warning shots into the sand, and he kept bringing his supplies on shore, so then they just shot him.
Because he's a moron.
What a
They tried to warn him. They tried.
Okay,
they were like, stay away, but no.
I'm going to play the martyr. I'm famous now. Well, he's famous now.
This is the perfect example of somebody who thought that
he was trespassing and he got shot.
He thought he was washed in the blood. I'm washed in the blood of Jesus. Well, you just got shot with the arrow and your life's about to be over, is what really happened.
Well, that's like I keep hearing these Christians these days say that the Bible, because they're like whatever of Jesus, that the Bible says that they can't sin, so they can do whatever they want. And I'm like, what kind of fucking shit is that?
Okay, so I'm not as angry as I used to be.
You're that awesome, huh? So you're saying if it's true, God, Jesus, you're like Jesus? Come on.
That's why it's dangerous to be.
Me up.
It's dangerous to be a literalist sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to be interpretive. You got to, look between the lines.
Well, and that's a lot of the anti-mask people are saying that Jesus will protect them.
Oh, yeah. Praise be to God. He'll save me.
Yeah, so they don't need to take any kind of precaution because Jesus is going to protect them from everything.
That's just like the people that don't work and say, oh, God will provide for me. Dude, you live in a hut. Like on the edge of town by the railroad tracks. How long have you been praying? Since I was 10. Do you think maybe it hasn't worked yet?
There was a woman.
People will say that shit.
It works in mysterious ways, me.
Yeah, in mysterious ways, you.
There was a woman that she literally let Jesus take the wheel. She said she felt called to let Jesus take the wheel while she was driving. She closed her eyes and started praying, and she ran over a dude on a motorcycle.
Oh, so Jesus wanted that dude on the motorcycle to die.
Jesus did not like that.
Yeah, he aimed the wheel that way. What'd she do? Get out of the car and say Jesus did it?
Okay, so because today's I'm trying to avoid today's topic as much as possible. I like where this conversation is going. No, because I've been so effing angry lately. Like I need a vacation. With all this, with everything that's been going on, it's just been pissing me off. Every time I turn on the news, every time someone says something, I'm like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Because I live it. If I get pulled over, I have a probability I could get shot by a mouthy cop. Like people don't understand. Like, or like if something happened with my son and he ran, my son could get shot instantly.
I mean,
there's a reality that
where I live in Australia, it's pretty good if you're LGBT and you're fine and stuff. But there's places in the world that I just would not visit. I would not go to for fear of my own life.
Yeah.
And And
unfortunately,
there are people who
that
just
now
don't
includes
understand
about
that.
a dozen states in the U.S.
Yeah, there are states in the US I wouldn't visit.
Well,
And
see, the bottom line is, and we were talking about this the other day. Never Again and I were. I can't see the chat, so I don't know who's there. But anyways, the problem is that in the United States, there's hate in every single state. There's hate in almost every single large city in the United States, in the surrounding areas of large cities in the United States, in every single state. Some states are worse than others, yes.
So
but you're not going to go to a state in the United States and be free from hate. I am in a really good area. Yeah. I'm very, very lucky that I live in this awesome area. But if I drive 2 hours south or hour and a half south of me, there's plenty of hate. So
yeah, well,
I don't want to hear that shit about, oh, I'm gonna. Your state's not as safe as mine. They're all.
No, I agree.
Just have to pick where the fuck you live.
I mean, I'm pretty happy where I live, but there are parts of Australia I wouldn't go to. So, for the same reason, there are areas I know aren't safe, and I wouldn't go there. Right. And I blend pretty well, but still, you only take one asshole to clock you, and you're dead.
Yeah.
Purple, I didn't hear a word you said. I'm sorry. You and Jen both heard.
I've always said that Minnesota is one of the most liberal states, but even Minnesota, they're trying to pass an anti-trans law, and they're basically masking it all under the idea that they have to do this to protect high school sports.
Just bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's my exact point. And I know Minnesota's pretty liberal. My brother lived there for years and had this huge gay community of people he knew, like huge community. So I know they're liberal, but still, there is still hate.
I haven't heard anything like the last 10 years or so, but it used to be that Minnesota or Minneapolis had the second largest gay pride festival in the country.
Yes. Yes, that is what I heard directly from my brother.
One of these days, I will cover. I will actually properly cover the science of trans women in sports, because I know it's been done, but there's nothing been done with any of the new stuff that's come out. There's nothing been done about the misrepresentation of the science that's been done by communities like these state legislators in the US and like World Rugby and people like that, who went with these one little tiny focus groups who were bigoted, who were just stacked full of bigoted people in the first place to get the opinions they wanted and everything. So that they had an outcome they wanted to get to, and they reached for it. And
if we're talking about turfs, can I jump in really quick? I'm sorry,
please.
I have no idea what's going on. I came in from the bathroom. No, I just want to say this really quick. I'm so disappointed in the state of Arizona. It's not even funny. They have anti-trans bills, all kinds of complicated stuff that my eyes glazed over about 3 minutes into reading it, But I'm so disappointed because I loved living in Arizona. I miss living there. And I am so disappointed that such a beautiful place has become such a hate-filled place.
But the Godless decided that trans issues is their linchpin for getting re-elected next time.
You know,
I don't get that. I just don't. I don't see how they could win this one.
There is now anti-trans legislature being pushed in 26 states. It's literally more than half the country now.
It was 22 last week.
So it's being pushed in some non-GOP states as well?
Yeah, Minnesota has always been a Democratic state.
Is it the Democratic Party that's putting the policy up, though?
No, it's still the Republicans that are promoting the legislation.
Let's keep in mind that in America, there are only 12 states where it's illegal to own an AR-15. Only 12. That means in every other state, you can own an AR-15. You can own a Bushmaster, anything you want. So the laws are going to follow that.
Yeah.
It just so happens that 12 states who have those laws are the ones where all the people...
So I want to say something about the whole trans sports thing, because this is why I think it's ridiculous. There are guys that are taller than me and skinnier than me, and I can kick their ass and I'm not on testosterone, and they're loaded with it. So that whole thing is asinine. Just because there are people like the women in my family, we all have strong arms and large arms, strong shoulders and arms. We all do.
Yeah,
we all do. If any of us go work out, we bulk up and we get strong fast as fuck. It's just in my genes, male and female in my family. There's some people's families, like my friends who I run off of. Colin, their arms are like this.
Yeah.
Full grown man. Arms are like that. Well, non-binary. But anyways, you can't blanket. People trying to blanket shit. You can't blanket shit. There's little tiny girls and guys. There's big, strong girls and guys. It's not going to fucking matter.
It definitely doesn't. And it comes down... It really comes down to sports is all about genetic advantage. It's not. It's the people who do well in sports are the people who already have a fucking advantage. And you saying that because somebody's trans, they're cheating and because they've got some sort of genetic advantage is just fucking bullshit. People are you might find in a 10-year period, you might find one dumbass who decides transitioning is a good way to win a medal at the Olympics. One, maybe, if you're lucky. It's never fucking happened. It still hasn't happened, because no trans woman has ever won a fucking medal, let alone competed at the Olympics. So just fuck off with that idea that there's this huge advantage, because there isn't. They have to go to look for these obscure sport meets to find any trans women that have ever won anything, with the exception of Rachel McKinnon, who won a Masters cycling event, and so they love to trot her out, and I can't remember what her new fucking name is.
Rachel McKinnon cannot
and
stop.
for the record, I fucking hate Rachel McKinnon.
Yeah,
she
needs
is
to
a
stop
fucking
talking.
bitch. But
yeah, she needs to stop talking.
She really doesn't.
My niece played high school football with the boys. She was the only girl on the team, and luckily enough, she lived in Florida, I think. Or was it North Carolina at the time? No, she lived in North Carolina at the time. And that school system let her play. And she was the quarterback.
Yeah.
She was the head quarterback on that fucking team.
So I know.
And nobody said shit because she had a better arm than all the guys on the team.
Down the lines of sex was never about protecting women.
She's 5'2". She's 5'2".
But sports weren't segregated between men and women about protecting women. It was never about that. It was protecting fragile men's egos because they didn't want to get beaten by women. It was about fucking men. It wasn't about women.
I hate to get all Al Bundy on you. But
no dick, no kick.
I played high school football, and we had a girl on the team. And you know what happened? Nothing. We came in second place.
There you go. See,
like
second place isn't bad.
No, she was but my whole point is that she was one of us. She'd go drinking with us. She'd hang out with us. Like it was just another friend. That's it.
And the other thing that pisses me off is it's where they go, we have to do this because it makes sports fair. Fuck off. There is nothing fair about professional sports. Nothing at all. You want to make sports fair, you categorize people into body types for certain types of sports. You find the categories that separates people out into the things that puts them in the right categories for their personal abilities. Wrestling. You basically apply handicaps to all sports and give everyone, regardless of their physical acumen, a fair go. That's how you make sports fair.
That's how.
But it's not about fair. It's about making fucking money.
When I played high school football, it was about survival.
I love you anyways, but
it was about survival of the fittest. Yeah. Like honestly, we were not considered on the team until we made it through Hell Week, which was like, and there was people who should have been professionals that quit playing the sport because they worked us like dogs, which is illegal now in the state of California. But that's because kids have died now.
Everything's illegal.
Everything is. Someone dies, it's illegal.
Don't breathe the air. It can cause cancer.
Yeah, no, it's either illegal or it causes cancer, or known to the state of California to cause cancer.
If it's part of the 3 Fs, it's illegal in California.
And the 3 Fs are
feed me, fight me, fuck me.
There you go.
So if it's part of the 3 Fs.
back when I was in high school, I was in really good physical shape. Like I didn't have super strong arms, but I had very strong legs, even though I hated running. But you know, I did martial arts, I did some gymnastics, but there were only a handful of guys on the varsity football team that could out leg press me. And like we tried. Like I had, you know, I went to the locker rooms, you know, the gym that they had there with them one day. And they're like, all right, let's see. Like everybody's doing their dick measuring contest. And so like I'm like, all right, let's measure my dick, you know, and going in there and there were only 2 or 3 guys that, you know, on the varsity football team that could out leg press me. And like I got pats on the back. It was like, you know, you want to join the team? I'm like, nah, it's too much running for me, homie. Like I'm good. I'll just stick with martial arts where, you know, I can get someone who is way outside my weight class down on the mat and make them my bitch.
So I have a question. Aunt Jer posted it. So what team does a non-binary person play on for the panel?
Non-binary beavers.
Well, I already responded to that no one organizing the teams would ever recognize non-binaries.
Yeah, if you don't have to worry about how non-binary people fit into sport, if you stop categorizing sports by gender, if you start categorizing sports by people's abilities and builds and things like that, and play and make it all completely fair, then it doesn't matter anymore.
See, but
that's like you go into stores and it's men's, women's, children. Should it be like sportswear, feminine, masculine?
Yeah, you could do that. That would be fine.
See, but it's ingrained in us everywhere you go. You go.
I still go into stores now that have men and women's change rooms, and my brain goes, why? What? Change rooms have individual cubicles. Why do we need men's and women's when there's individual cubicles? That makes no fucking sense
so
to
people
me.
Can't see around them.
Yeah. First off,
they don't. They have doors on them in Australia. People can't see around them.
Here.
Yeah, we have.
But
doors.
in America, how much money do corporations make from the pink tax, from weirdly gendering everything, from putting gender on? They do that because they make money off of it. They can care less about us.
Men's
let me give you an example. Because you're right, Will.
They just want our money.
Yeah,
when I worked at CVS, they had like the beauty section, right? And then the men's grooming section over by the deodorant and by the shaving shit. So you went to the beauty section and everything from the generic to Revlon to whatever, all the fingernail clippers and everything range between $12 and like $45. You go in the men's section, that same kind of clippers.
Yep.
$3 or $4.
Yep.
That were 12 over there.
Sneakers. If you want to buy a pair of sneakers and you're a woman, go buy a pair of men's sneakers because you'll pay $4 less for exactly the same fucking sneakers. They're just slightly different.
No, they're usually
colored.
built better.
Yeah, they're usually built better. They're slightly different color. That's all. That's the only fucking difference.
I have a big foot, so I agree with you on that one. But after you go over size 12, they make you pay more money. As far as men's shoes. So I have to pay $10 to $15 more because I wear a size 13.5.
Yeah, well, that fits under what they refer to as the fat tax.
Yeah.
That if you want anything that's
like
outside the range of normal sizes.
Which is a fucking thing. The pink tax is real, people.
They have the baby tax, too. You could go into a section at any store and pick up a shirt in the guys section, you know, and get the name brand and the design and everything and go to the kids section and it's only like $2 less and it's like a third of the material. They do that shit all the time because people will buy that shit for their children and they fucking know it.
So in the Star Trek, like dystopian future, we're constantly talking about, are we talking about changing rooms where everyone can go in? Are we talking about bathrooms with just the word bathroom on it?
No, I'm talking about...
There should be unisex.
I'm talking about
just put in singular bathrooms. Put in 5 of them.
Yeah.
It's the same price.
I'm going to tell you, here in California, we have the third bathroom. I ruthlessly go in the third bathroom. Because I gotta go.
Bathroom, I love it.
If I have to go, I'm gonna go. Because there's the stigma behind it. Like, oh, are they? Aren't they? Like, who is this person? I just have to go use the can. And if you're scared, you could judge me all you want when I come out. Because that's what it's about.
Now, I love the local supermarket that's in the town I'm in now. Absolutely brilliant. There are two public. Because it's not a huge town, so there's two public toilets in the supermarket. They are both disabled toilets, but anyone can use them, and they are not gender specific.
And that's fantastic.
Just say like restroom.
Yeah, it just says
restroom.
and they're all both disabled enabled, and you just go and use whichever one's available.
Yeah,
and there's
it's like I won't let my son go in a bathroom
There's
by
no
himself.
separate disabled. Both of them are large enough to have changing facilities, so family can go in there. They're big rooms.
Right.
They're brilliant. I think it's the best way to do it.
So
I like the idea of family restrooms because I mean, if I have no qualms like about going in a men's room. Like if my son needs to use the restroom, like if the women's is backed up or whatever. Like if my son needs to go, he needs to go. I'll go in the men's room and I don't fucking care, but I am not going to let my son go into a bathroom without me with him.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that I'm worried about trans people in there. I'm worried about fucking weirdos in there,
Yeah.
And
I'd be worried about the
identify
TERFs in there, to be
identity.
perfectly honest. I'd be worried about the TERFs.
It's the cis straight guys
always
that are child molesters.
always.
Throw them into the women's room.
And it's the TERFy women that you have to worry about in the women's loos. It really is. They're the most dangerous.
Honestly, like I would rather be in a bathroom with 100 fucking trans women than one TERF and one like creepy cishet white guy. Like, I mean,
I gotta start saying that cishet. I love that. It's so much easier.
I
mean, we're in America, damn it. We're all about being lazy and making it the fastest, biggest way.
Yeah.
But that's
So
the
I'm
thing.
gonna say it loud. Cishet.
But yeah, we'd be much better off with one toilet. You could have, in the communal areas where people wash their hands, you could have cameras for people's protection, because you shouldn't be naked in that area anyway. And then individual cubicles for everyone. You don't need a trough for guys to pee in. You just have lots of cubicles and one big toilet facility. They made that in... There was a new high school being built in Brisbane, in Australia, and that was their plan for the toilets, and the Liberal Party in Australia kicked up such a fuss that they had to redesign the toilet blocks into standard men and women's.
So as somebody who...
And I'm like, why? This was going to be safer. They had security cameras in the communal areas. It was going to be safe for the kids. But no.
So as a man who literally will pee anywhere, I think troughs are gross. You
they're disgusting.
Get rid of all troughs. I'm looking at you, Dodger Stadium. It is 2021. It is 2021, Dodger Stadium. Get rid of the trough.
Urinals and everyone should fucking sit.
Oh.
Honestly, like I thought about, like I saw it, a while ago. They have this essentially like a training toilet, like a urinal style one that you attach it to the wall, and it would teach a boy to use a urinal. And I'm like, I thought about it, but no, urinals are gross, and I'd much rather him, fucking learn to pee sitting down, or if you're gonna stand, lift the toilet seat up and, pee into the toilet like a normal person, You know
what I don't understand? Some guys must have like the shortest dicks because they just pee all over the fucking place.
Yeah, I think
like at work we have, and we don't. Not even a lot of people use our public restrooms because we're an apartment building. The people that live there go in their apartments.
I've seen women with those little standing peeing tools pee straighter than men.
What were you gonna say, Perp?
It's ridiculous, man. They just pee all over. I'm like, why are you standing back that far?
I think
if you got a little dick, stand over top of it.
One of the real
problems.
Sorry, Purple. Go ahead.
If it was hard, they might not have as much problem, B.
Time out. Purple has something to say.
Not difficult.
I'm gonna go off in a second.
It's never actually said, but I think one of the real resistances to the unisex bathrooms is that women know how gross the men usually are, and that they're going to pee all over the toilet seats, so they don't want them in the same bathroom.
That's my only complaint.
Piss all over toilet seats too, because they will like hover. I've cleaned plenty of women's restrooms, And women's toilet seats are just as disgusting as men's toilet seats. Like, I worked in movie theaters, I worked at Walgreens, CVS, I worked fast food. The women's toilets are just as gross as the men's toilets.
And you get women who
You know what
stand
I
up and
found that to
don't
be
wipe
true?
and leave dribble all over the toilet seat.
Where
It's
they don't
disgusting.
have the seat covers sitting back behind the toilets to cover the seats. That's where you see it all the time because women do not want to sit down in that seat. They don't know what's on it.
I don't.
And I mean, I don't blame them.
You squat to pee, yeah.
Okay, so
I don't
friendly
blame him
advice.
either, but
if
yeah,
you're-
don't squat to pee.
Just get a
if you're,
sheet.
if you're a man and you're peeing on the floor, go see a doctor.
Yes,
I don't care because you shouldn't be that drippy.
Learn to
think you
hold
might
your,
have a
learn to
problem
hold
as
your
a
penis
friend,
properly.
I'm a friend.
It's causing
I'm
a spray,
friend.
man.
As
Paul,
a
My
friend.
dude.
If you
I'm
can't
your
hold your
friend.
penis
Go
properly
to a
when you
doctor.
pee, ask a friend.
No.
sit down and tuck it under the seat. I don't care what you do.
As
Peeing on the fucking floor, it's disgusting.
as the card carrying penis holder here, go see a doctor. If you're dripping on the floor, get help immediately.
Like, even my
Get
son
help.
does really good about not dripping on the floor. Like, and we're still
Exactly.
working on the potty training thing. You know, like
Exactly.
it's mostly just like number 2 that we're still having trouble with because like he hasn't grasped the concept of before yet. Of tell us you need to go before you go. Whereas with peeing, I could be like, okay, it's time to go potty, you know. And if I go at regular intervals, then he'll go and use the toilet. And when he first gets up in the morning, I was like, all right, it's time to go pee and brush your teeth. And he'll go use the toilet, you know, wash his hands, brush his teeth. So we've got the morning routine down pat.
But we're
For
talking
the rest
about
of the day.
we're talking about grown men. The person that you look when you're driving in traffic, you look over. If that guy is peeing on the floor, he needs to go to the doctor.
And by the way, I don't want to hear, oh, that just happens. I grew up in a house with 4 guys. Four guys. And you know what? You commonly did not even see a drop of yellow on the edge of the porcelain.
No, that's an LA rule. That's an LA rule.
They knew how to use the fucking toilet and they cleaned up after themselves.
Well, regardless if you're a guy or a girl, if you leave a mess on the toilet seat, fucking don't leave it there. Fucking clean up after yourself. Don't be a fucking...
If you are going to
don't be
pee
a
standing
scab.
up, or if you're going to hover, at least have the decency to lift up the fucking toilet seat first and then just go over the bowl. Because, like, I don't care if you hover or if you piss in the toilet, you know, like, as long as you lifted up the seat, you know, fine. Whatever.
Do it. See,
I know
that's
somebody
a
who
very
did the
American
hover and
attitude
peed down
that-
their own legs. So, I mean,
What's
yeah.
What's that?
That's a very American attitude that, well, I'm done here, so it's not my problem, and they
It's
just walk
everywhere,
away.
Perp. It's not just America.
Yes,
As far
they
as
pay
toilets
people to
go.
do that.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I've been overseas. It's not just America, but I will say it's Western countries. Because if you go somewhere where people are like literally living in dirt huts, they're cleaner than the average American. I'm sorry.
Cleaner than the average American.
I've been to places where people live in yurts. I'm sorry, they're cleaner than they keep better care of their stuff than the average American does on a daily basis.
Cleaner than the average American sounds like smarter than the average bear.
You don't want to know the shit that I have had to clean up from people, and not just in the bathroom.
Yeah, not just actual shit.
Like, not just like piss, vomit, and shit or blood. Like, I have had to clean up used fucking condoms from fucking movie theater. Like, in fact, one time someone took their used condom and flung it, and like it stuck to the fucking protector in front of the projector. Like the little window that's up there in front of the projector. Yeah, it fucking stuck to that. So not only did I have to stand on the back of a fucking chair and like scrape that shit down, but then I had to clean up the fucking window afterwards. So I don't know who you are or where you are, but I seriously hope you get like chlamydia or something. Like, you know, chlamydia, gonorrhea.
Why'd you bring me back? She's not done.
Something that like will make you miserable, but is easily treatable. Because like, I mean, I don't want you to have to deal with something like herpes where you got it forever. Like, yeah, chlamydia or gonorrhea, I'm okay with those. You know, like because of course the antibiotics and I'll clear it right up. But you're gonna feel miserable for a few days. So
look, let me tell you. I'm gonna tell you guys why all of a sudden I put out 50 applications in a week and a half. All right. The building I work in, when I started there, it was only a few residents. It was empty. Construction was still going on. It's almost full now. People are letting their dogs piss on the walls inside the apartment building.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm
Can't do it.
done.
I've cleaned up
I'm
everything
done.
on Earth. Yeah, I
I'm
know what you're
done.
saying.
People could walk in with dog shit on their feet, and we have mats at every single door. And then they get on the carpet, and you could see where they just like wiped their foot as they were walking all the way down the carpet.
I'd
hate
like
people.
to point out, I cleaned.
Nobody has to clean that up though. It's fine. It'll just dissipate.
I cleaned my cat's litter tray before this stream, as Will knows, because he was on the phone to me at the time. I was complaining about it. But I was complaining about it.
Like,
all the shit was in the kitty litter tray. It wasn't on the floor around the tray. They shat where they were supposed to. If a cat can do it, fucking humans can too.
I mean, don't get me wrong. My cats are kind of derpy, and there have been a few times where they're in the litter box with their butts kind of hanging slightly out the litter box. So, like, it just kind of over the side, and it's just like, God damn it, cat.
Twice since I've had my cats, I forgot to clean the litter box for like 2 days, and my boy shit on the floor right before I got home. Like, both times right before I got home, shit on the hardwood floor, and then when I got home, he meowed at me. And I looked over, and I was like, what the fuck? And I looked in the litter box and went, dude, my bad, I'll clean it up.
Yeah.
Like, totally on me. 2 days and not cleaned the litter box. Totally my fault, that's the only time they've ever done it.
But then again, Orion, like, I have seen him, like, and he doesn't always do it, but sometimes when he's like about to hack up like a hairball, he will actually go and puke in the litter box, and I'm like,
oh, I wish
good boy.
my cat would do that.
I know,
we had
right?
a dog. Oh, me and my brother were talking about this the other day. The dog we had growing up, her name was Cinnamon Cinders because she was a full-blood German Shepherd, so they always gave them some elaborate name or something. But anyways, we called her Cindy. And so we went to go to a funeral. We were supposed to be gone for like 3 days. And the neighbor up the road knew to watch her for those 3 days. Well, we came back like 30 some odd hours late, and she was in the house. And we tried calling, now mind you, this is pull off the side of the road, payphone days, right? Tried calling, stopped a couple times for gas, tried to call him, nothing. He didn't pick up his phone. He must have left town or something after that. We get home, the dog's been inside this entire time. She shit on the part of the toilet where underneath the bowl it comes down and flattens a little bit. She shit on the side of the toilet.
Aww.
You can't even be mad at that.
No.
We pet her and loved her and gave her treats. Because she tried really, and there was some footprints on the toilet. Like scratches on the top of the toilet. She tried to use the toilet. Literally. And she shit on the side. She's like, that's all I got. And we walked in and she was like, I'm so sorry. We were like, no, good girl, not on the carpet. Good girl, like we were fine.
At least you can clean up the bathroom.
My son.
Yeah, it was easier to clean up the tile and the linoleum back then.
Yeah.
But my son's dog, Sakura, she essentially potty trained herself. Like, I believe she had maybe 2 or 3 accidents ever, like from when, we brought her home to when she was fully potty trained. And they were all right by the door that we, go to let her out to do her business.
Yeah, she tried. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't get mad at that,
Yeah.
And
people can't shit and piss in the toilet. I know.
And that's the thing. And like, she even makes it a point to go, like, our backyard is very big. And every now and again, like, there'll be a spot where, she just couldn't make it. But for the most part, there's like a brushy area with like tall grass and stuff and some trees on the side of the property. And she'll go over there to poop. Like, most of her poop ends up over there, like not in the big area that she runs around in with my son. But every now and again, she won't like be able to make it. She'll have to go really bad, and she can't make it all the way over to there to do her business. So, but still,
my friend had a black. Real quick before I change the subject, my friend had a black lab, and he got it from a shelter, and he wanted me to go with and pick up this dog, and he was just the coolest fucking dog. He was really sweet and blah blah blah, like the typical happy lab. And the first time we took him, we got him home and everything, and we took him around the house and showed him around and let him sniff everything on a leash, and all this stuff. So we were there for about an hour. We're playing with him and getting him acclimated. And let's go outside and go to the bathroom. So he puts a leash on him, and we walk him outside, and he sticks his ass under the bush and shits against the stalk of the bush. And we were like, best dog ever. And then on top of that, he kicked the mulch on top of it. We were like, ain't gonna do nothing. Landlord will be happy. No shit in the yard. And there was a line of bushes on both sides of the yard, and he would just shit under different bushes. That's what he did. Best dog ever.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and Soccer will kick up dirt or like grass
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever to try to cover it up. Like she treats it like a litter box and a cat, which
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
She's the best dog ever. Like honestly, like my son can be a little bit rough. Especially when he's having a meltdown, like he might start hitting himself or something. She will go over there and give him kisses and try to like calm him down, give him
Aw.
love, and like she could have a bone in her mouth, like a milk bone, and he could pull it from her mouth. Doesn't get aggressive. Like he
No,
can like
'cause she
tug
knows he's a
on like
baby.
her face. He can tug on her face, tug on her tail, and she'll just be like, look at him like, what are you doing?
Female
And
dogs are great for that. They always know with the babies. Cindy did the same thing with my nieces when they were little. They pull her whiskers and yank on her ears, and she'd just lay on the floor totally still, and then quietly, so she didn't startle them. I swear to God, that's why she did. She would quietly whine until one of us like came close enough that we heard her whining. Then we like, oh no, stop. And she'd look at us like, oh, thank you. That hurt.
And like
but
Tucker's
she would
much
not-
bigger than my son. And so like sometimes when they're playing in the backyard, like they'll play fetch together, like she'll jump up to get the ball a little too close and might knock him over, So like he's gotten hurt by her, but I don't count like that's not her hurting him. Like that was
No,
just
she's just got
play.
I grew up with like 140 pound dogs that would establish dominance over the kids.
Oh,
Like
they pee on them, did they?
They hump.
No, like
hump.
when I was a little kid, the rule was you couldn't walk the dog until you outweighed it. Because it was because you had to be strong enough to walk with the damn thing, because it was walking you at a certain point, So I always grew up around aggressive animals.
Actually, that reminds me. Back, I believe it was in 2017 or 20. It was around then when Hurricane Irma came through Florida, and we lost power for over a week. It was shit. But
That's awful.
we had a shed in the backyard, and when there's a storm, I'm not sleeping. I'm keeping an eye on things. I grabbed Michael's waterproof trench coat that he has for construction. Like it's got like the safety colors on it and everything.
Yeah.
His hard hat and the flashlight. And because like the shed was taking a beating, and I was worried about shrapnel coming through because Michael was asleep on the couch with Richard in the living room because they were both having a bit of trouble sleeping, and there's like a big window there and a sliding glass door. I was worried about shrapnel, so I'm like, all right, do I need to go like take and tack things down, so I'm keeping an eye on the shed, and I come inside. Now Soccer is afraid of storms. If it gets windy or rainy or thunder and lightning, she's shaking like a leaf terrifiedly. She gets terrible anxiety about it. However, when I came into the house, I was still wearing the trench coat and the hard hat. She met me at the door, even though she was shaking all night, and she growled at me. She was like, and she kept herself between me and where Michael and Richard were sleeping on the couch. And, once I took off the hard hat and the coat and she realized it was me, she was super happy, super excited, gave me kisses, then went and jumped on the couch to be like, I protected them. However, when she did, she landed right on Michael's crotch, and he woke up from a dead ass sleep when this like fucking 60-pound dog
Another good reason to be one.
right? Like, I mean, let's just say, like, calling someone a pussy is not an insult. Those bitches are made to take a pounding. Like,
They literally are, man. They
dicks
can
and
take
balls,
some
man.
shit.
They are fucking fragile. Like, if you want to say something, like, you could punch somebody in the pussy and they're just gonna be like,
Actually, I will have you know. Actually, when I was almost 15 years old, I was laying on the floor and I was watching TV, and I was laying like this, looking up at the TV. Of course, it was like a 13-inch black and white, right? Sitting on a TV stand. And I had my legs kind of like spread out a little bit, and I was just like chilling on the floor, And my brother came up, wanted to change the channel. Not Richard. He would never do this, but the one above him, the asshole. So he was like, I want to change the channel. I'm like, no, dude, I'm watching this. Well, I want to watch something else. Dude, I don't fucking care. Like, I was in here. I've been in here for like 20, 30 minutes by myself. Nobody's been in here. When my show's over, you can watch whatever you want. He got mad and he kicked me between the legs with steel-toed boots.
Ow, it still hurts.
I curled up in a ball. With my hands between my legs. And when I was curled up and I was rocking because of the pain, and I rocked kind of over towards him, and I could feel my face was just red. I was holding my breath. I was clenched. Every muscle in my body was clenched. And he looked at me and turned around and ran. And his boots weren't tied all the way, and he left his boots like this by the door. Like this. He ran out of his boots because he knew I was going to fucking kill him. So now for the rest of my life, TMI, I know, but I'm going to tell you anyways. The left side, I have no feeling.
Yeah, but see,
I have no feeling.
From
the middle of my clit all the way on the left side. No feeling. Totally numb.
Damn.
Like, let's
not experiment with that. Don't kick women between the legs. Yes, it does hurt, even though we don't have balls, because that's what my brother used to say.
So
you still got all the nerves there. It's still a big nerve center. It can still hurt. What it can't do
now
is it can't make you infertile.
For the rest of my life trying to have an orgasm. So
yeah, it can
Thanks,
fuck you
bro.
up, but it can't make you infertile, which is the concern for men. There was a thing because I mean I know they wear them in other sports too, but in cricket in Australia, batsmen wear what's called a box, and it's a groin guard which covers their cock and balls. And there was an interview thing when they had this high school coach for a women's cricket team, a woman who was coaching this women's cricket team, and the interviewer was interviewing her, and she was interviewing a female cricketer, top flight one, and the question came, and the coach said, "What do you do about how do you keep the box on for the girls?" And the player goes, "We don't wear one. The idea of the box is so that the men get hit in the balls, they don't end up infertile. What? You might hurt, but it's not going to fucking make you infertile."
No, we won't be infertile. We may never feel again. But we will still be able to have those children for all you cans.
But wearing a men's box is ridiculous.
So when you say box, is it like a literal box over the pants, or is it like a jockstrap?
No, it's worn inside.
It's like
their
a
underwear,
athletic
and
cup.
It's a cup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so sports cup.
We have these conversations. We have these conversations all the time because I speak American and I think in freedom units. So I need translation every once in a while.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in answer to Ox's question, the reason why it hurts so much, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, is because that's where all the nerve centers are for pleasure. So you get hit there, it's going to hurt the fucking same.
Yeah. Okay, so as a man, this conversation is not funny, first of all, and second of all, getting kicked in the butt, you can go blind. It's the worst pain ever. You can go blind. All kinds of crazy stuff could happen if you kick a man in their nads. All kinds of crazy stuff.
I have only ever intentionally kicked a guy in the genitals one time. Now, like in my defense, he came up behind me and he had grabbed me at a bear hug, and then he sunk his teeth into my shoulder and drew blood and ruined my favorite shirt. So I kind of like twisted a bit and like kind of did like a donkey kick backwards, and just to get him off of me because he was literally taking a chunk out of my shoulder. So I was just like, yeah, I don't feel bad about that.
No,
I'm not anti self-defense. I'm just saying.
It's not funny. Don't do it because you think it's funny. It's not a joke.
Yeah. But in self-defense, I'd go full Bobby Hill. Like, that's my person. Kick someone right in the
I'll
crotch.
agree with Ox, though. When I learned Taekwondo, we were taught in self-defense, it doesn't... I mean, there's no rules in a fight. If you're fighting for your life, there's no fucking rules. And you go for the soft spots. You go for the spots that's going to make sure that the other person isn't going to get back up again and hurt you. So we learned that if you're in the street and somebody's attacking you with the intent of hurting you, you put them down, you hit them hard, you kick them in the groin, you kick them in the head, and you make sure they don't get back up, and you leave. You don't wait for the cops to arrive. If you're the one who is able to walk away, you leave.
Side effects from getting kicked in the balls is nausea, bruising, discoloration of the scrotum, swelling of the scrotum, blood in urine, difficulty urinating, or fever.
And infertility
is possible. Sounds right.
But remember, like in self-defense, remember to sing. Solar plexus, instep, nose, groin. Those are the areas that you would want to go for. Because if you break someone's nose, their eyes are going to water up, and they're going to, come down. If someone comes behind you, if you can, stomp on their instep, then elbow them like right here, under the ribs. Exactly, the solar plexus. So basically to wind them, hit them in the nose, and then knee them in the groin, and that should drop just about.
And even if you,
I want to say one thing about that. I just want to say one quick thing. Do not hit someone in the nose in an upward direction. That's all I'm going to say. Hit them flat on with the 2x4. I don't care. They'll probably still live. But if you kick them in the face or hit them hard enough in an upward direction, you can kill them.
But if they're trying to kill you, don't feel bad and don't.
Oh no! I'm not saying that. No, I'm just saying in general. Yeah,
if you're in a fist fight with one of your friends,
I've had like fights, like fist fights with people where we were trying to kill each other. We were mad and trying to beat the shit out of each other. And no, we weren't friends. But there's certain things you just don't want to do, like try to choke somebody out with your bare hands. It can be ugly.
And I mean, even if you've been trained in martial arts and you know how to kick properly, in a real fight, don't try and kick somebody in the head. The chances are they will be able to catch your leg and you're fucked.
Yes.
I actually utilized that tactic.
None of us are Jackie
in a fight once, though. But I wasn't aiming for the head. I knew he was going to grab my leg, but like that was part of my strategy to end the fight quickly. I went to kick him like right here, like in his midsection, knowing he'd grab my leg and try to overpower me. As soon as his hands were on my leg and I didn't have to worry about protecting my face, I grabbed his shoulders, brought my knee in across his chest, and then I went down and threw him over me. And his face smashed into a concrete pillar, and he broke his nose in 3 places.
Yeah, but if that's part of your plan, that's fine. But generally speaking, if you try to kick somebody, they will instinctively try to grab your leg. And if they get a good grab on it, you're knackered because they're holding onto your leg.
It's just like if somebody has a hold of your head, they have control of your body, leg or head.
Now, kicking lower, kicking solar plexus down, fine. Because you're in control at that point. So you can kick somebody in the solar plexus. You can kick somebody... go for knees. Knees are brilliant.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly... If you can kick
the front of a knee, they're buggered. They're done.
Just straight back and at about a 60-degree angle. And I don't care how big he is.
Yep.
I don't care.
Even if your aim isn't good enough to specifically hit the knee, you hit anywhere on the shin...
Oh, yeah.
You're probably going to take his leg out and he's probably going to fall. But
you're going to break something.
Standing, it's going to be painful as hell.
Yes, I agree.
It's possible to tear a meniscus or, displace the patella. Like, you can do a lot of damage to a knee. It's a very fragile joint.
And if you've got quick hands, getting close.
Yeah.
Most people don't know how to fight up close.
Yeah. It's a good way to disable somebody so that you can run away and they're not going to be able to run after you.
Oh, I like fighting. Let's talk about fighting.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, here's a good move.
We're talking about self-defense and how to fight.
I know.
Here's a good move for you. So we were wrestling when I was with my ex-husband. He had a bunch of friends, and this one guy was named Tiny. So of course he was like 6'4", and I don't know, 280 pounds or something like that, or 300 pounds. He was a big dude, big softy, real sweet guy. So they were going around the room, kind of round robin, going across. You two wrestle, you two wrestle, you two wrestle. And they pointed at me and Tiny. And I was like, dude, I'm literally the smallest person in the room. I'm with these like big construction worker guys and Tiny. Yeah. And they were like, there's the rules. You guys want to wrestle. And I was like, motherfucker. So he's like, and he just grabs me, like puts me in like a bear hug almost. So I just grabbed him by the neck and put my feet on his thighs and walked up his body and got his one arm off of me and crawled around and wrapped my legs around his fucking chest, and I grabbed his head like this. And when I was done I didn't twist or anything, I just grabbed him, and I started squeezing his chest with my legs, and he said, and I quote, "Fuck, man, get her off of me, fuck!"
And that's the thing. If you have strong legs and you can get your legs around an opponent, whether they be, up or down, like you can literally constrict like a snake so that every time they exhale, you tighten up, and it makes it so they cannot inhale and get enough breath.
Eventually, they will get little shallow breaths.
Yeah, you'll get
and they will pass out. Yes, absolutely.
Or
Another thing
I
you
didn't
can
do that to Tiny because I liked him. I let go and jumped off of him. But
Another thing
I
you
attest that to the Indian leg wrestling that my brothers and I used to do. We did when we were kids. We always did Indian leg wrestling. We all had strong legs. Yeah.
If you're like
We were
in a
bored.
fight, like for real, one thing that you can do if you do get your opponent down is get both of your legs essentially on top of them, one near their above their arm near their neck, and then the other one below, and take their arm and twist, and you can dislocate their arm, which will make it harder for them to get up. So it's kind of a finishing move, so to speak. They're
Pain, and
going
then
to
they
stay
can't use
down
that arm
so
either.
that you can then get away, and they won't be able to use that arm to fight you. So then
I
if
watched,
you need the police coming, or if you need to get away and you're worried they're going to chase you down, like because you got them down, but you don't know if they're going to stay down, dislocating their arm is a good finishing move because it's going to fuck them up.
Man, this poor dude, we got his knee broken. We made him pass out, and now we snapped his fucking shoulder.
If you
that
learn
guy's
how to
fucked
block properly, which you should do if you do self-defense, you can actually break somebody's elbow in the process of blocking their arm if they take a swing at you. The dumbest thing anybody can ever do in the fight is do the old drunk person roundhouse kind of punch. Because they are screwed. If they do that, if somebody does that to me, they're going to have a broken elbow. I'll guarantee it.
Like the guy whose nose I broke, it's really one of the only times I've ever actually been in a real physical altercation in my life. He was doing that, like the wide ass swings, and I'm literally just deflecting his arm up, and like I'm not even putting any power into it.
No,
I'm not just letting him hit me.
You don't have to. That's a weak swing.
He kept coming, so I was like, okay, fine. And that's when I was like, all right, this guy's gonna fight dirty because he was already calling me a whore, and he just beat up my sister who's smaller than me and him and younger. So that's when I made, the mental calculation to go for the mid body kick, so that as soon as he grabbed my leg, I knew I wouldn't have to protect my face because I did not want him hitting me in the face, because if he got me in the nose, it could cause swelling, it caused my eyes to water up, and then I would be then hindered in a fight, with this guy. And I wanted to end it quickly because while I was strong at the time, physically, he was much bigger than me, much stronger than me. So he outweight classed me. So like he's going to have more endurance and more like stopping power. All he has to do is hit one blow. If I don't deflect it or dodge it, then I'm not going to be in a good place. So I wanted to end it quickly.
Most fights do tend to end quickly because, unless of course you've got evenly matched opponents, because
I fight dirty. Don't ever fight me. I fight dirty. I'll grab a brick. I'll grab sand.
Yeah.
I'll grab sand. I'm dirty.
You're right, Jen. I've been in a lot of fights, and I'm going to tell you, like my junior high and high school years, it was bad. It really started in grade school. I was an angry person, so I got in a lot of fights. And I'm going to tell you first of all, the longest fight I've ever been in, it lasted about 12 minutes and it felt like about 45 minutes. And we were exhausted when we were done fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, were exhausted. We were both like I was trying to hit her again and her head's starting to lull and I have her by her shirt and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do this again. One more little hit and I was like, dude, I'm done. I just walked away. She just sat down on the floor and leaned against the wall she was against. Like, we were both just done, dude. It was exhausting.
For most people, they're not fit enough to maintain a long-term fight. And you sustain so much injury over the course of a fight. You're pretty wrecked within the first 5-10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, we beat the crap out of each other.
If the fight lasts more than 5 minutes, both of you, unless it's very one-sided, both of you are going to be feeling it, and it's not going to be a fun time for anyone.
No, we just
fight as quick as possible is the best way to prevent injury to both parties, but especially yourself in a defense situation.
Well, we just both happened to be very angry teenagers, so it worked out great. All of our aggressions for the whole entire year we took out on each other. We were done after that. The rest of my year was so chill. Hi, Matthew.
Oh, I have no idea what I'm getting into.
It's about fighting.
We were talking about self-defense.
Yeah, I've never been in a fight, like a proper fight. I've wrestled with my siblings, but my one half of my family, they came out from Lebanon to Australia at a time where it was very, very racist, and they used to get into a lot of fights, but it was generally not them starting it. So I hear all their stories, and it was always you hit first and you hit hard.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, you don't
Uppercut.
wait. If somebody's threatening you, you don't wait.
But I have a story. It was a family friend. They're an ex like special forces personnel with significant training, and they're at a petrol station at 2 a.m, and someone came up to them and said, "Oh, you got a cigarette?" And he smokes. I think he had one in his finger. He's like, "Yeah, sure." So he gave the guy a cigarette, and he's got 3 mates. So someone's come up to him, and then 3 mates have come up to join the other guy, and then he starts asking more questions, and then he turns to him and goes, "How much money have you got?" And he said he did not wait anymore. He put all 4 of them on the ground before they realized what had happened. Straight after that,
wow.
a cop car comes around the corner into the petrol station, and he's trying to tell the cops, it's like, "I feared for my life." And they're just looking at the bodies on the ground being like... But the other guys had felony convictions, or the equivalent of felony convictions. They all had
Gang
police
members sort
records.
of
So
things, yeah.
yeah, some kind of record. I don't know what it was, but it's those sort of stories. But my favorite story of someone avoiding a fight, like scaring someone off so badly they didn't fight, was when my late grandfather first came to Australia. He didn't know English. He didn't know much English. And his older brother had been in the country for a bit longer. So the brother had come out and then brought my grandfather out, and then he brought the rest of the family later. But they're working on a construction site in the days well before OH&S. It's like a 3-story house without a roof on it. They're walking across the walls at the top. And my grandfather's gone down to get something out of the truck. And some guys come up to him, started abusing him because he wasn't Australian. He's just verbally abusing him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know much English, so he can't really verbally spar with this guy or even tell him to go away. But his brother on the roof saw what was happening. And there's a nice big tree in front of the house, and the tree was about the same height as the roof was at the walls with a lack of a roof at that stage. So he puts an axe in his mouth and then jumps into the tree and manages to climb down it and drop between them. And I've met these people. They are crazy enough to do something like that. So he just drops between these two, between my grandfather and this other guy with an axe in his mouth, and the guy pissed himself and just ran.
So that's where the drop bears came from. It was your uncle that started the drop bears in Australia.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Great.
One, I always traveled by myself throughout my entire 20s. Basically, from the time I was 17 until I was almost 30, I was by 29. Rule number 1 is, if people were going to jump you, act as crazy as possible. And let one of them know that you guys may get me, but I'm taking 2 of you mother effers with me. You know, tell them, like, I'm going to take you with me, and we're not going to a fun place, you know? And I'm not kidding you. At least in my 20s, no one ever wanted any of it. And, you know, I always had a weapon like a skateboard or something.
Well, standing your ground can also intimidate people as well. Like, I actually had, I was at a car club meeting that they used to have up at a place called Bel Air Lanes. And it was unofficial, but a lot of people would go and show off their cars, their stereos and everything. And it happened, like every other week. And I was there, and this person that was a friend of mine had basically been fed a bunch of lies, and they decided that they wanted to fucking end me that night. And they came at me full charge wielding a katana, and I just stared them dead in the eye. And they faltered, and we talked it out, and they're one of my closest friends to this day. But that could have gone differently.
That's always been my experience, is that I've never really gotten into a real fight, because the couple of times somebody came up and took a swing at me, I just smacked them with the first thing I could grab, and as soon as they realized I was willing to fight back, they back away.
Absolutely. And I learned that because I went from
like tough people.
I went from living in Arizona, and I moved back to LA to the city of LA, and I was kind of intimidated at first. And honestly, most people were just bullies. And whenever I stood my ground, people would back off and go away because they knew that I was willing to fight them. When I lived in Portland, see, it was a little bit different. When I moved to Portland, they had a law called Measure 11, where if you got in a fist fight, you go to jail for 5 years. So basically, if you hurt somebody, you're going to jail for a long time. So guess who's the guy who didn't look up the law? When I moved there, I came straight from the streets of Los Angeles, and like, I call it PTSD, call it life, whatever you want to. If anyone steps to me, I just punch him in the face. Because in LA, that's like someone will pull a gun on you. You can get murdered real quick. It shows you like how cheap life is, you know. But when I lived in Oregon, I gained a reputation because people were like, hey, this guy from LA is crazy because he fights people. And I had never been to a place where people it was just weird to me that they didn't talk it out. They would wolf at each other. They would get into fights and stuff, but people really didn't get in fights like they did in LA because they had a law that said, hey, if you act like an idiot, you're going to go to jail for 5 years.
I've had someone pull a flick knife on me before when I was a teenager. They pulled the flick knife on me, and I just looked them in the eye and I said, you better be damn prepared to hurt me with that thing, or else I'm going to take it from you and shove it up your ass. And they just folded the thing back up and walked away. Because I was like, but I think you look at it, it was just somebody showing off, and they thought they could intimidate me, and I was like, I'm not going to let you intimidate me. Screw you.
And that's what it is, though, is that people, they believe their own BS.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know.
The fights I got into in high school, I fought bullies. Because they pissed me off. And they pick on like these kids that with like physical disabilities and all the nerds and the one black kid that came to my school for 2 weeks and then his family moved away because they were constantly bullying him. I was constantly following him around, pushing them out of the way so he could go to class.
Men still do that.
Horrible.
In the cis het world, men still do that. It's still like who's the toughest, who has the biggest motorcycle, who can yell the loudest.
Let's just say biggest.
That means they have small dick energy.
No, I call it
it's small dick energy.
Yeah,
that's so much better than I used to call it.
Pretty much, me going through school, that I was always just kind of wiry and always getting bullied by the bigger guys, and but then it was like, maybe 2 or 3 times a year I've had enough, and I would just go off and wail on someone, and it's like, I know I'm going to lose the fight, but I'm going to cause you a hell of a lot of pain in the process.
Not only will this kill you, but it will hurt the entire time you're dying.
And they couldn't predict when. They left me alone.
I always stand my ground, and like I always say, like sometimes you shouldn't take advice from me, but take advice from someone who always does stand their ground. There was one time in front of Santa Monica High School, these people were just sitting at a stoplight. Light turned green. I honked at them, and I went around them, and the guy flipped me off. I flipped him off. The guy pulled up next to me, and somebody came out of the back seat and pulled a Mac 11 and pointed it at me. Which, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a semi-automatic weapon that would have ended me in 10 seconds. And I was like, oh, they're not joking. And I literally made a right and was like, oh, I'm an idiot, But I'm like, I was like, get the F. Oh, they're going to kill me. They're not playing.
That happened to me on the highway. This lady was driving like crazy on the highway. She almost hit me twice because she like came around behind me and then went up here and then got stuck behind somebody and then came over again. She was just driving crazy. And I was like, dude, and I honked at her and shit. And she flipped me off. And so I caught up to her and I got next to her and I said, you need to slow the fuck down. And she was like, fuck you, bitch. And so she took off and I was like, all right. So I followed her off the ramp. She pulled a fucking, what was it? It was purple, like bright ass purple.
Was it like was it a handgun?
Like a Taurus or something.
Oh,
Taurus makes them pretty guns.
And so what happened was I went off on the ramp behind her because I was just going to go to the next stoplight and yell at her and turn around and go back on the highway. And she had a fucking car seat in her car, which means you have kids, which she didn't have a kid in the car, but still, what the fuck?
Oh yeah,
So I was just mad, dude. I was mad. And mind you, this is before I was on my PTSD meds. So let's throw that out there too. So I was angry a lot. So I followed her off the ramp and she just slammed on her brakes right in front of me. I slammed on my brakes and went off to the side a little bit. And I stuck my head out the window and said, "Are you fucking crazy, bitch?" And so she just starts waving a gun around like this. It doesn't even get out of the car all the way.
Oh, wow.
So I ducked. I was like, "You can't even hit me like that." And I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're going to pull a gun over this? Leave me alone, motherfucker. You fucking bitch." No, but seriously, you're pulling a gun because I want you to drive safely on the highway and not kill people? I'm like yelling this at her.
Americans are crazy.
So then these cars are coming around us and they're blowing their horns and they're almost hitting us because they're having to go off on the shoulder a little bit on the ramp to get around us and all this shit's going on. And so finally the cars behind me disappeared and I backed up and then she took off and then I just fucking flipped a bitch. I was like, my God, man. Like maybe she was on drugs or something. I don't know, man. That's the only time anybody's ever pulled a gun on me because of road rage.
Real quick, I was just reading the chat and I hadn't seen it before. Like Aunt Jer, great minds think alike. She was like, "Oh, see, Matthew's uncle or whatever was the origin of the Drop Bears."
Bear, yeah.
I saw that too.
And no, I have not seen the film Ninja Cheerleaders.
No, what?
But now I'm
Now I'm
going to have to go on IMDb and look that one up later.
Like, I'm intrigued. Like, I still want to see Velocipaster. Like, honestly, we need to do a watch party for that. He's literally a fucking priest that ends up, turning into a velociraptor to fight, ninjas from China or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Mr. Bear Atheist did a review of that movie.
Isaiah was watching a hate video about that movie.
I
was like, "What is it?" I love
glorious.
I love bad movies like the old sci-fi movies like Big Ass Spider, Rock Monster. I love the extra stupid movies because they're so improbable.
Did you know that Will had not watched The Black Hole?
Okay. No. I had never seen the Black, and I thought I'd seen every Ernest Borgnine movie ever.
Yeah,
if you want another movie on that level, there was one that was, I think, produced by the Sci-Fi Channel called Triassic Attack.
Yes,
that this Native American was upset about them, developing his ancestral land. So he broke into a museum late at night and did some kind of ritual that brought 3 fossilized dinosaurs to life, and they went and wrecked the town.
Oh, wow.
Oh, another terrible one that is just awful but also amazing is a movie called Thanksgiving. It's basically about a reanimated zombie turkey that comes every 200 years because of the Native Americans getting fucked by the settlers, and it comes on Thanksgiving and it kills a bunch of people. There's one scene where this dumb bitch who's one of the stupid college kids that are the protagonists of this.
It's always college kids, isn't it?
Dude, her father's a cop.
Because it's real.
And he gets killed by the turkey, and the turkey's wearing her father's face, with strings and all, and she doesn't fucking recognize that it's the turkey
my kind of movie.
Her dad's fucking face. And then there's another part where the turkey's actually fucking this chick, and he's like, "Gobble gobble, motherfucker." You like that? It's just so fucking terrible.
What the fuck kind of shit
that's on my list. See, I gotta see that now.
Thanksgiving. It's fucking amazing. And at the end, he becomes fucking radioactive.
Kitty's about
come on, this has to be in the line of a Toxic Avenger and things like that, doesn't it?
Be careful. Toxic Avenger helped raise me.
Toxic Avenger.
I love
awesome movie. I love tomatoes as well. Taka the Killer Tomatoes.
I did not know that they had actually done one of a zombie turkey. I was working on a concept I was calling Black Friday. That the day after Thanksgiving, the carcasses of all the turkeys came back to life.
No, oh man! But when you guys get it, I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix.
Poor trash man.
It's called Thanksgiving. It is terrible, but it is awesome because it's one of those that it does the loop where it's so bad it actually becomes good.
Yeah.
On your
But
wrist,
only if
I'm
you
for
like
you, kitty.
stupid, campy stuff like that.
Oh, and Swamp Thing. I watched Swamp Thing as a kid too.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna check it out, Jer. Like, it sounds like it would be right up my alley. I used to watch like B-rated horror flicks and just campy movies. Like, I've watched the Sharknado films with my dad. Like, literally, like just trash movies. Like, I love watching those with my dad when I was a kid, and like something I've continued to enjoy to this day.
You
It's
have
just
to
watching
go and watch
God's
the
awful
old
movies.
They just hurt me. Like, I feel pain watching them.
You now have to go watch the old porn video of Cinderella.
Oh no.
Oh,
Because the fairy godmother is a black guy.
You don't want to start that conversation with me.
Yeah,
you do not.
It is an old film, and it is. Yeah, the fairy
You know,
godmother
I
is a
collect
black
VH
guy, and she goes, "I didn't know fairies were male," and he goes, "You've got a lot to learn, sister."
oh, that's great.
And
I
then,
love it.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is campy as hell. It is meant to be funny, but it's hilarious.
So it's like Pirates, that porno that was shot off the coast of Florida where they had like CGI and everything. It was literally a porn spoof on Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
and they released an R-rated version
this
without
movie,
the
I think, was
hardcore
made
sex
in the
scenes
early
in it.
'80s. So it's
I've
quite
seen
old.
that. I've seen what you're talking about, Kitty.
Dude,
I've seen
I'm the
that.
greatest pirate hunter in the world.
Oh my
And the fucking
God.
like jungle lesbian sex that the fucking like oh man, it's so good. I fucking love that movie. I had a watch party with a bunch of friends. We watched the porno, like the X-rated version with all the sex and everything. We were eating popcorn, we're laughing our fucking asses off, just like fucking
Yeah,
10 of us.
that's exactly what the
And-
Cinderella
and
movie is
the-
like. There's clips from the Cinderella movie without all the extra porn bits actually on YouTube.
Do you know it's not the WTF show if we're not talking about porn or sex in general. So
well, it's what the fuck was the topic?
welcome
I
back.
didn't stay on topic very long today. I mean, we started off topic. We went to topic for like 5 or 10 minutes and then went completely off topic.
I'm going to tell you.
I came in all around the world, baby.
Like I said, this topic was just, it makes me angry because like, what the F can we really do? You know?
We can complain, which we did, and then we moved on.
Honestly,
exactly.
though, I think that one thing that we can do that will institute reforms, at least, you know, in some respect, it's got to be a multi-pronged approach for police reform. But I think that forcing the police officers to police themselves, and I know that doesn't sound like it would work, but just like in the Chauvin case, he went down for murder. If you make it so that every single cop that was there is charged with the same crime as him, then it's, you know, in that case, it's like, dude, get off his neck. I'm not going to jail for you. You know,
I agree.
And you know, if you can be shown to be a cop who spoke out against something or was prepared to stand up against the other cops, then you don't go down for the same crime because you stood up against it.
I agree with you, but like I told the story, I knew someone who's a real Texas Ranger, and they told on somebody who beat a young black man almost to death. These two Texas Rangers almost beat him to death. He told the authorities. He got fired and he got blacklisted to the point where no police force will hire him because on his paperwork it says that he will rat on you. It says, "Hey, this guy has no loyalty." And so he had to move back to Southern California because he can't find a job anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have to put in safety measures to prevent that from happening. There was another cop that he left because, like, they put a dead rat on his desk. They put, like, cheese on his car, or maybe it was cheese on the desk and a dead rat on the car. Either way, like, he got forced out because, like, he spoke up because one of the cops had literally beat this little black boy. You know, he beat the shit out of him, and then he was like, "No," like, he came at us first, and he tried to plant drugs on him. He's like, "No, dude. Fuck you." Like, he reported what actually happened, not what the other guy said had happened, and he got blacklisted for it, which is why I think that we need, as part of the multi-pronged approach, we need to make sure that if someone is killed by the police and, you know, it is not a justified, you know, killing, that any cops that are there need to all be charged for the same thing. That will help with things like what happened to George Floyd, where you have like 6 cops there, and any one of them could have stopped what was happening, but didn't. And they are just as culpable in that man's death as Derek Chauvin. So by charging them all the same, it forces them, when they're paired up, at least, to kind of police each other because they don't want to go down for what their partner is doing. But when it comes to like individual cops, you have to focus on training. And I think part of it is a lot of cops don't actually live in the communities they police. They live outside of them, maybe a county or 2 over.
I was going to say something about that.
You have to live in the community that you're protecting and serving, and make a community board that has members of the community that are kind of an oversight board, so that if things are going, where you see like in Flint, Michigan, where Black people are getting pulled over exponentially more for minor infractions, getting them in this vicious cycle of having to pay fines or late fees because they can't pay the fines for minor traffic infractions that a white person doesn't get ticketed for. Like, if shit like that is happening, if you have a community oversight board, then they can help step in, and you're going to need an outside agency that will back that community board. So make, a nonpartisan, police department attached, not attached to the police unions either, because they're an issue in and of themselves.
Yes.
But having that board that oversees everything, where the community boards report to, you can have databases to track, police killings, to track, abuses of power, or, people going and being overzealous with communities of color in their ticketing and citations. Like, we can do a multi-pronged approach that gets them in the communities they serve, working with people from that community to act as a check and balance, and then have outside agencies when there is an issue of violence or death, that, you don't have the same prosecutors that you work with day to day, or the same cops doing the investigations. They need to be outside investigators, so they don't have bias or blind spots for the people that they work with.
Yeah.
I want to add something to that, although what you said is brilliant. I agree 100%. I want to add one thing to that. I think that all police officers should be trained not as first aid, but as intermediate EMTs. So not quite paramedics, because that's a lot of schooling. It's a whole different ball of wax. And because when you become an EMT, you have to do so much ride time, so many hours of ride time. So you have to go find local fire departments and shit that will let you get in the ambulances with them. And you have to sign waivers and paperwork, and you have to document every ride you're on, every patient. Anyways, so I think that if they spend some time, just enough to get their certification, helping people and seeing people dying of shit before they ever become a police officer, I think it would change a lot, one. And two, if they were certified as an intermediate EMT, they would be required to try to save that person's life.
They would have the skills to do proper triage to try to keep them alive.
Yeah, and that's... Sorry, I was going to say something awful.
I just think that's another...
The unions would hate that, B. I mean,
I don't.
Okay,
so... Shit.
So
and have a 3-strike.
That's part of the problem, though, is that we have created an us versus them, because they are a completely different. They're completely separated than us. They consider themselves a different class than us. They make more money. They live in different neighborhoods. They separate themselves from us.
But also, I would say have a 3 strikes rule for body cams. Like, if your body cam mysteriously turns off, 1 time it could be a fluke, 2 times something's fishy, 3 times you're done, you're fired and you're blacklisted. You cannot work for another police department. Even if you didn't do anything
people
wrong.
Like Chauvin, who had multiple infractions on him in the police department for doing shit just like that to people and possibly causing them harm, and then he's walking the streets and then he kills somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no amount of time in jail that's going to replace that man's life. And I don't give a fuck if he was doing drugs or not. He could have stopped doing drugs in a couple of years and became like an upstanding member of the community and saved people's lives. We don't know, because we'll never know because he's dead. So that guy could rot in jail. I don't give a fuck.
Unfortunately, a lot of cops either protect the bad ones or they look the other way. And, it just makes me think of, Edmund
Well, a
Burke
major problem is that in so many instances they have shown that a cop reporting another cop suffers a more severe penalty than the cop who caused the problem.
It's a mob mentality.
But no, like
we all
all
watch
each
other's backs. We don't say shit no matter what.
Yeah. And a lot of them aren't paid well enough, which is why you end up with bank cops.
Yep.
I mean, there is this aspect of you can make good money being a bank cop. Why put your life on the line all the time? Which is where a lot of them go with that. And I can understand why it gets there. It's not good that it happens, but I can understand it. And it's, it's something that needs to be dealt with. They need to be paid a bit better, but a bit more respected for the, and in that sense, respected for the kind of work they do. But only respected when they've earned that respect.
But
the problem is, I think we have this cycle where we have these like good old boy mentality, and no one else wants to work with them. So then more good old boy mentality people apply, and they become cops, and then we just have more of that.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to walk in on that if you're opposing that and deal with. You know what you're walking into. We see it on the news every day. After they shot that girl, you know what they did? They stood there yelling "Blue Lives Matter" at the crowd. Are you fucking stupid?
Yes,
shit like that, though. Nobody wants to be a part of that.
I don't know about anywhere else except for LA County, but they come straight from the prisons. So we get these angry, sociopathic people who are already mad because they've worked in the prisons for 5 years. Some coming from like full max prisons where they're dealing with people that are in prison for life, some of the worst of the worst, then they're put on the streets. We have people with PTSD that are rookie cops, but they've been in the force for already 6 or 7 years. So they're on the streets and they already have seen the worst of the worst. We get angry, violent people here.
Now, real quick, Apasta Babe in the chat said that this is a very good suggestion, but I believe that police officers have too many things on their plates. I would like to see others called in who can de-escalate with those with disabilities. I believe that's absolutely true. Police right now are being expected to do too much. They are investigating crimes. They're showing up to domestic disturbances. They are showing up to mental health crises or drug crises. And
they're not trained for all of these things either.
No, they're not trained for it. And we can get other...
That is the essence of the defund the police movement, is to have social workers and therapists available to handle the mental health crisis and the homeless people and the domestic disputes so that the police don't have to be responding to those.
Well, I feel like they should still respond to protect that person, but you don't need 4 of them to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a difference between dealing with someone who's violent and dealing with somebody who's mentally disabled, dealing with someone who's having a bad day, dealing with, there's like I said, in life, it's a case-by-case basis. You can't just say, have a blanket cause and say, every time this happens, we'll do this, or every time, and that's the problem, because that's what they do. Because they're reading from a piece of paper. It's all procedure.
The hammer. So everything looks like a nail. That's what it comes down to. Like, they are militarized. They have military-grade weapons and paramilitary training. And when it comes down to it, by sending them into all these different circumstances, if somebody is having a drug crisis or a mental health crisis, a cop, it doesn't need to be the one there. Like a counselor, a social worker. I mean, a cop could be there for backup if things do get violent in a domestic situation. But if you've got a husband and wife yelling at each other in the street kind of thing, like, you don't necessarily need a cop with a gun there for that, when you can have like a social worker or something show up and kind of de-escalate the situation. The cop can be there for backup, but they shouldn't be the first line of defense, for a situation like that.
I know this sounds weird, but in America, we don't always need cops with guns. We don't always need an armed officer to respond to everything.
You don't?
Like if you're in a traffic accident,
a shotgun on the dash.
Yeah, I don't need some guy with a 1911 and a Mossberg in his car. I'm good. I'm good, you know.
Well, the
I need
cops
someone
in
who's gonna call
Australia,
it.
unless they're the tactical
Yeah.
response group, they only ever carry sidearms.
So we had the North Hollywood shootout here, and our cops are armed to the teeth.
Yeah,
No,
so
no,
that
cops
doesn't
can
happen
have
here.
shotguns
Our
and
cops are
rifles
ready
in
to
their
go.
cars. Like they aren't
No.
just armed. Like usually on their person is only the handgun,
Handgun.
but they do have shotguns and sometimes rifles in their cars.
And it depends on where you're at, whether they're allowed to mount them on the dashboard or they have to be in the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen them both places in different areas I've lived. Most commonly, they're in the trunk. But I have lived in 2 different cities where they just had them right there, and they could just pull them off.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure here in Florida they're allowed. There's like a space for them inside of the sheriff's vehicles where it's literally right there next to them and their computer in the cabin area of the vehicle, so it's readily accessible.
Right.
I have kind of 2 things on that. One of them's more of a question, but it might tie it back in with earlier while we're on that one. I think B's point about having better medical training would be very useful, because then they might be better at identifying when it's people with mental illnesses. Because I've watched some of the footage that you do, that you can see of the cops and scenarios, and a lot of the time the people I'm looking there, I'm like, no, I don't. They're not listening to you because they're having they've got some mental problem or issue, and you can almost clearly see that they're not acting normally. And so it's like, well, then you can't treat them like a normal person, a rational person. You probably need that. So that might help. That was the first point. The second one, I guess, is more of a question. Could it be that the cops are really, really armed in America? This goes back to the earlier point as well, is because anybody they pull over could have a gun. Because in Australia, I think they're probably much less likely to pull guns out here, because the chance that the person they're pulling over is actually going to be armed and be able to fire back is very, very small.
And by armed, do you mean with anything? They're unlikely to even have a knife in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from cops who've been shot at in Australia, but they'd been shot at once, and they were like really experienced sergeants, veterans on the force. But I wonder if that, I'm more asking because I'm not a lot of this I'm learning, and I've only spent a very brief time in America, and none of that involved cops. But I'm wondering if that might also be a problem. And then, if someone can just pull a gun, as we were talking about when you guys were talking about some of your cases, like that's almost unheard of in Australia. Because if I want to get my hands on a gun,
it's just like, let's say Russia and the U.S. and how they fight for power and who's bigger and better. It's the same thing.
Well, my partner Michael, I mentioned this, I believe on B's stream the other night, but my partner Michael had a gun pulled on him by a cop. He is a person of color. He is mixed race, but Indian, Black, and Caucasian. But he looks dark. Like he looks like a slightly paler version of his dad, who is half Afro-Guyanese, half Indo-Guyanese. And he was in a state vehicle. This is back when he was working for the state EPA. And the cop pulled him over saying that he was speeding. Now, Michael knew he wasn't speeding, and the computer system in the car, because not only did it have a governor in it, so it couldn't go super fast, like above like the highway speed limit, but it also had a computer in it so that they could track the driving speeds of the people that were going. So like he could pull that up. The cops telling him, I'm giving you this ticket. You need to sign it right now. And Michael's like, I would like to read the ticket and see what you're ticketing me for before I sign it. And the cop's like, no, you're not allowed to read it. You have to just sign it right now. So the cop was getting more and more agitated. So Michael like quietly like dialed 911 on his cell phone and just left it going. And he's calmly talking to the cop, just like, look, I know I wasn't speeding. Like, I can show you that with the computer system in this car because it is a state vehicle. And the cop's getting more and more agitated and then pulls a gun on him. And Michael's like, look, I don't know why you're pulling a gun on me. I am talking calmly and rationally. And the dispatcher heard what was going on. And, Michael had said, officer, blah, 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 and said his name. And so they looked up, I'm guessing the dispatcher looked up where that cop was. And they actually sent a supervisor over. And luckily he was close. But the supervisor police officer like higher on the totem pole showed up, pulled up behind them, came up, told the guy, what's going on? Like, put your gun away. Like, let's, because Michael's just like, hey, I'm just trying to explain to this guy that like I wasn't speeding and I can prove it because of this computer system in this car because it is a state car and it tracks speed. Like, and he's like pulling a gun on me. I'm like, and like it could have ended really badly, but the guy basically told the other one to leave. The supervisor cop, the one that pulled the gun on him, he told him to leave. And then Michael got an apology and was sent on his way with, no citation or anything because like there was no citation to give. He wasn't doing 20 over the speed limit because that's just not possible to do in a state car and get away with it because they track all of that. But that could have ended really, really badly, being a person of color and pulled over by a trigger happy cop, and it scares me to think of what could happen.
Yeah, one of the interesting things in psychology, and I guess it's interesting but not in a useful case in these scenarios, is that people are more likely to use tools they have when they perceive those tools to be better, and that plays in warfare a lot. So one of the things that was noted is that if you start giving cops tasers and they also have a pistol, so it's like Australian cops because they're generally not armed with more than a pistol, and if they have them, they're not generally visible, so they'd be hidden in a car. They will be more likely to actually draw their other gun, even though you've given them a taser, because it's a psychological thing that you just cannot get past without extreme levels of training. That when you start giving people better weapons, they're more likely to use them, even if they don't consciously realize it. And there's very good anecdotes from war. I know this is slightly nerdy, but one of my favorite anecdotes is from World War II, where the British often commented that, and the Americans too, commented that the Germans never used their rifles because their division had this giant-ass machine gun with this massive rate of fire. And if you gave them that, they just used that. And then people with the smaller weapons just sat there because they're like, he's got one. So if you start giving everyone these better weapons, the ones that have them start using them insane amount. So yeah, as soon as you start giving the cops guns, you can give them training, but they're going to use them. But of course, what I was saying earlier, that's why I wonder if a lot of the problem is because there's a very good chance the people they pull over are also going to be armed.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you on that, and I think that's what I was getting at earlier is, you have more people on the street and more criminals that are armed because they're easier to get a hold of these days. You can, like we were talking about before, you can order the pieces online and do like a kit gun. Literally.
Yeah, but also,
so you have
here.
You have the criminals are getting better and better weaponry. Of course, the cops want to keep up, so it just ends up being like, we just keep going.
You can print your own,
and where does it stop? Everybody's got a machine gun on their car.
But in America,
Jen, you normally only get a bullet or two off with.
You do, guns. Then they go blow up. Yeah.
Yeah.
In your hand.
It's chicken or egg. it's chicken or egg though, because people in Chicago, people in certain cities, they had to defend themselves from the police. So now we're at the chicken or egg point of like, we need to fix the problem instead of,
Yeah. Well, which one's the egg?
They do one up each other. It doesn't matter at this point.
Well, I was just going to tell you that
because the problem is a place like Chicago, and I told you the other day, it's shocking to me how I saw someone waving a $3,000 gun around, and these people are struggling for food, but they have better firearms than people that are in the military. The black market is thriving in this country. The black market is thriving.
Australia, to get guns in Australia, it's about 10 times more expensive on the black market than it would be in, say, before we had our strict laws brought in. But Australia is a great example of why you should not give easy access to guns. Like in Australia, if you need it or you want a gun, you can actually get it. It's just not easy. So if you want to get guns because you want to go hunting, you want it for fun, you want it for sport, you can do that. But you got to show that you need that. You actually have to go to safety things. You got to spend a couple months to get a license.
I'm not listening.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about
and if you're on a farm, you can get them. I've met people with guns. I've had people show me their guns, but the thing is, the rules here are super strict. I meant the ones that are that shoot bullets.
Oh, the lethal ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean those. Sorry, Kitty.
No, it's fine. I was gonna say, like, I actually have a concealed weapons permit. Like, here in America, just about anybody who is of age can go and buy a gun. Now, there's a waiting period if you go to, a dealer or a gun shop or something like that. However, not everybody can carry concealed. Like, some states allow it with or without a permit, or you can open carry. Florida is not an open carry state. It is a concealed carry state, but you have to be permitted for it. And in order to get your concealed weapons permit, at least in the state of Florida, you actually have to go to a safety class. You have to actually do a practical test where you show that you can properly and safely handle the gun, load it, discharge it into a target, and then, unload it. And basically the basic steps of safety. Yeah. Granted, it's only 5 rounds that you have to fire off. So, I mean, I think that there should be a little bit more to the practical side of things for that. But you do have to do, a written safety test, kind of like safety class thing, where you go through that, and then you have to show that practically you know how to safely use the gun. And then the instructor is the one that signs off on it that, yes, you completed this and you were satisfactory in this. And they send that off along with your licensing fee and everything. And then you get your concealed carry permit. Yep. You cannot carry the gun unless you have the permit on you. You can have a concealed weapons permit, and if you forget it at home and you have your gun on you, it'll be a very bad day for you, because you actually have to have the permit on you to prove that you are allowed to legally carry that gun on your person. Now, I also do not have to go through a waiting period, which I don't actually like, because if you have a concealed weapons permit, the main reason they make you do a waiting period for a gun is not for safety of, oh, you're depressed and you might want to kill yourself, so you're going to go buy a gun to, eat lead, and maybe that 3 to 7 day waiting period would get you a chance to kind of rethink things and not put it in your mouth and pull the trigger kind of thing. It's actually for a background check. If you have a concealed weapons permit, you've already passed that background check. You're already in the state database for that. So I can literally go to a gun shop and buy a pistol and walk out with it that day. Now, shotguns and rifles they don't have a waiting period.
Right.
You can go into a Walmart and buy a hunting rifle or a shotgun and walk out with it and ammo that day. But for handguns, which are much more easily concealed, they require the waiting period for the background check to go through. But again, if you have the concealed weapons permit, you get to bypass that and just walk out with your gun that day, no questions asked, because you've already gone through it. But I think that even someone like me with that concealed weapons permit should be required to wait a couple of days, because I think that even more than just for the background check to see if you're legally allowed to buy that gun, a waiting period could prevent, a domestic violence situation or, a suicide where someone's just having a really rough time and they're considering ending it, and they see, the point and click interface of a gun as a quick and an easy way out, and that might give them time to reconsider. And most people, and I understand the statistics, as a gun owner, as a concealed weapons permit holder, I understand that I am at higher likelihood to die from my own gun. Like, when a person has a gun in the United States, you're a high likelihood to die from it, mostly due to suicide, but also if you don't have the proper training and you do use it in a self-defense mode, if you are not trained for it and not prepared and you hesitate, then that gun can be taken and turned against you. So while everybody has a right to a gun by the United States Constitution, if you are not a felon, I don't think that everybody has it in them to be able to safely use a gun for self-defense, because if you hesitate, that could get you and others killed. And also, you could end up killing yourself. So there are
also accidentally kill someone who's in the area of what's going on too.
Exactly why you don't fire a gun in the air, B.
Exactly.
Whatever.
But
we used to do it all the time. They do it all the time in the cities, 4th of July and shit. People be popping off guns. Oh, well.
People get killed by it all the time in 4th of July. Just look up the news stories. Like, that's why firing a warning shot. Like, there's a case here in the state of Florida. There's a woman, at least I believe it was Florida. It might have been a different state. She was being attacked by her abusive husband. And she had a lawfully owned gun, and she used it in self-defense. But she didn't actually shoot him. She fired a warning shot. And because she fired a warning shot first, they actually got her on attempted murder. She's sitting in jail for a warning shot against somebody that was attacking her. Like, it's a really weird and twisted case. But warning shots are not actually recommended. And even if you are not a police officer and have not gone through the police academy, like, if you have taken any, at least some criminal justice courses, or they actually even had something when I was in high school that was police explorers. We did ride-alongs with cops. We got, firearms training. We got training basically to be cops before we even left high school. And I did that because I was considering becoming a cop. I actually did a criminal justice course at the community college, and it was taught by the guy that actually ran the police academy that they had at that community college. I became close friends of him, and he took me in as like a mentor type figure, and he actually had a full ride scholarship to that police academy and a job lined up with the police department for me if I wanted it. And I seriously considered it at the time. But then, life happened, things went different. But whether it's the police training or even training that you get when getting your concealed weapons permit, they explain to you that you don't do warning shots and that you aim for center mass. And, there's a lot that, goes into that, but it's mostly about, self-defense and, neutralizing a threat. Center mass is easier to aim for. Warning shots can get innocent people killed. And unfortunately, you have to be prepared. And it's, don't pull a gun unless you're intending to use it. And if you're going to use it, you need to shoot for center mass and not be afraid to kill your target, because otherwise you could end up dead. You have a lethal weapon in your hand that could be taken from you. And if it is, it could be turned on you and it is lights out for you. So whether you're a cop or you're a civilian that has gone through any amount of firearms training like I have, you will be taught these things. And as much as I don't like that, the guy fired so many times, especially with that many people so close, like that could have been really bad.
It could have been 2 or 3 deaths because there was someone on the other side of the car and the girl next to her.
But I understand. And like, we get to play Monday morning quarterback on it. We get to watch the frame by frame and see exactly where everybody's positioned in it. When you're in that situation, you don't have that luxury. Now, I will not justify, the killing of people. Like, there have been so many. But this one particular case, while I do think he fired more times than was necessary, I will say that I still, he saved that girl's life, and he had split second. It was a split second thing
he
to
did
try
his
to save
job, and
somebody.
he did it properly as to his training and the way it's and the rules.
The procedures.
By procedures, he did.
Absolutely.
I don't think
Absolutely.
any of us can argue against that. Well,
No.
I think the biggest argument for many of us is that training should be a bit better.
It could be better.
It
yeah.
could definitely be better.
There's also like the
Needs to be a
NRA.
lot better.
Like, one thing I'll say, the NRA is absolute garbage. They started out as they actually started out with good intentions, and it was about teaching gun safety and proper gun handling to people, like to children, like and adults that are hunting. It was essentially just a gun club. Now it's become an army of the gun lobby, and they want to drum up fear so that people go out and buy more guns. But you also notice that they only want certain people to buy those guns. Philando Castile is a perfect example. He was a man that was a licensed gun carrier and followed all of the rules. If I get pulled over and I have my gun on me, I am required by law to let the police officer know that I have a concealed weapons permit and that I am carrying a firearm at that moment.
And you do it like this. Yes.
So Lando Castile did exactly that.
Yep.
And when the officer asked to see his ID, he then said, don't reach for your gun. He's like, I'm not. I'm going for the ID like you asked me for. And he shot him and killed him. The NRA.
And they both said that twice, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not reaching for, I'm just trying to get my ID. You asked for my ID.
Just get my ID. Yep.
And he followed all of the rules and was killed. The NRA went silent for like a week. Because here you have a law-abiding gun owner, and they were killed over their, because of their Second Amendment rights. But because he was a black man, the NRA said nothing. They literally went calm blackout on social media
because it doesn't fit their image.
They only want white people to own guns.
I'm gonna have to be the official wet blanket because that's my job. We're gonna have to start. Yeah, we have to start chilling soon because Perp's show starts in 30.
Yeah, about 40 minutes. I was gonna say I have to drop out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta get to bed.
So Perps, why don't you shill first because you're gonna have to drop out and get your stream going, and then we'll let B have a shill because B needs sleep.
I'm tired.
So Perps, what have you got coming up in 40 minutes?
Just my regular stuff. Yeah, I'll be starting my midnight show in 40 minutes here. So I do every Wednesday at noon, every Thursday at midnight Central Time, and Friday evenings at 7 on the shills. And other than that, I tend to follow Will around.
Like a lost puppy.
Me too.
B, what have you got coming up?
I have my Friday night open mic tomorrow. It'll be at regular time. And then starting next week, because I have a new job, I will be starting my streams an hour later because I have to. There's 2 or 3 days a week. I'll be working until 6 p.m. So
awesome. I live on the West Coast.
7 p.m. my time. So it'll be 6 p.m. Will's time. Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Timing for me.
West Coast.
It is actually.
It is better for me.
I can get you in the morning. So I didn't mean it like that. That sounded terrible.
Have me in the morning, yeah.
Get you in the morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tomorrow 8 Eastern, Friday night, my open mic night, and everybody come in and say hi and let me know if you want to come on.
I'll try my hardest to improve your sensitivity there, B. Sorry.
Thursday night. It is Thursday night.
Matt, what have you got coming up?
I was trying to make a video on rats where they'd actually noticed pro-social behavior a number of years ago, but that video, I'm not as happy with it, but I do have a big one that I really want to have done by the 26th because that's the anniversary of Chernobyl. So I did bring this up on my Twitter, but I'm trying to make a video for the science of what went wrong. So I will not be focusing on the politics because that's a basket case for someone else to deal with. But yeah, I want to focus on exactly what went wrong and how did it go wrong. Because that's something a lot of people, like I even didn't know fully what it happened.
People really misunderstand Chernobyl because, it's your video. I'll let it go.
I'm looking forward to that, Matt. I really am.
Absolutely.
Kitty.
Yeah, I'm hoping to film it tomorrow.
Brilliant. Should be great, man. Kitty, what do you got coming up?
Honestly, I'm still kind of put through the ringer. I don't know why, but the vaccine seems to be clashing a bit with my condition. I'm back to running a low-grade fever, and I'm just feeling kind of it's not too bad. My arm doesn't hurt anymore, so that's good. But I've been running a bit of a low-grade fever and just been feeling really run down since I got the vaccine. So I'm still getting the second dose, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody. I have fucked up body and a weak immune system, so it's not likely to have the same impact for you. I know plenty of people that got the same thing and they had a sore arm, like John Cena punched it for a couple of days and then they were fine. So don't let that dissuade you that I'm feeling like shit, but I am still trying to get the stuff recorded for the stream that I wanted to do on this month for Autism Awareness Month. Time's running out and I'm stressing out about it a little bit because I wanted to do it this month, but we'll see. If I have to do it next month, it's not the end of the world. It's still something that needs to be spoken about. And once I get the produced video ready to go, then I can get with Perp and Will for setting up the time for the stream itself. Other than that, I'll be around for the What the Fuck show next week, and all the weeks, since I think this is the first show with me as official co-host.
Second,
because we haven't. Second, is it the second? The fundraiser. You're right. The fundraiser was, but the first non-fundraiser,
first non-fundraiser show where you're.
Yay!
Yay! But other than that, I'm kind of like the community whore in that, like, I just get bounced around to different channels. Like, whoever wants me on for a bit, like, I'm I'm fine with that. Like,
you'll also find Kitty on my streams most of the time.
Yes,
too.
like I do, and I do try to show up to Purple streams. Like I try to spread the love around, So, and I don't get paid for it, so I'm more of the community slut than the community whore.
Right?
Yeah.
Prostitution indicates pay.
Prostitution requires pay, usually.
The problem is most of us in the community don't get paid for any of this at all.
That is also true and fair. But when it comes down to it, I have a good time hanging out with everyone. It's fun to talk and to vent, and just I love the community that we've got going here. We have different topics we can talk about with different points of views, and even if we disagree on things, we still keep it civil, and I love that. Because nobody wants everybody to agree with you 100%, because you'll never move forward if everybody agreed with you 100%.
Wouldn't it? If we all thought the same thing, we'd just be like, yeah, me too.
I mean, like, I'm to the left of Lenin. Like, I'm so far left, I'm almost off the end of the scale. But, like, and there are people here that are lefties, but they are not as left as me. But, I think even the more conservative lefties that I've found in the community, they're all far enough to the left that the core things we agree on, that people should be taken care of to a varying extents, but things like Medicare for all and the ability to get a good education so that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, kind of thing.
Equal rights for everybody, and
equal rights,
keep out of other people's shit.
That too. Like, that is something that we all agree on, and that's good, because those are the things, the core issues are what we need to agree on to be able to move forward. We can argue about the details and the minutia, but as long as we can agree on striving towards what's better for everyone and stop thinking so individualistically, I think that we might just have a chance to save our species. Maybe. Fingers crossed.
You're hopeful.
Sorry, I took a lot of time for that, but I was rambling. Don't mind me. Love you guys, and thank you.
Aw, thank you, Kitty. Babe, what do you got coming up?
Okay, hold on. I'm tired, so hold on. Okay.
It's going to take a while to get in character.
Okay.
Say pugilist.
Hi, I'm Godless Sewing from the Godless Sewing channel. You guys should all go subscribe to the Godless Sewing channel. Every Thursday, Jen from Jen's Little Corner, Kitty the Atheist, the Empress from Hell, and myself have a show. Sam Chaos, Maddie from Science Side Up, and myself also have a new podcast called Pub Religion that comes out every Wednesday, 3 o'clock West Coast time. Check that out on Sam Chaos's channel. I'm always on Perp's channel every Wednesday and Thursday evening, Wednesday afternoon. And if I forgot you, I still love you. Be nice, wear a mask, and do all that stuff.
Unless you're a TERF, then he fucking hates you.
Yeah, he hates
you. Yeah, to the point where I'm writing letters to keep TERFs out of my country. That's how much I don't like TERFs. I'm writing my senators. That's how much I don't like TERFs.
Props.
You will not drop foot on LAX at least.
As for me, there'll be another WTF show next Thursday night for those in the US. I'm hoping to resurrect Stump Jen tomorrow night, or that's Saturday morning for people in the US, Saturday afternoon for people in the UK. I might see if I can drag Matt on if he's not busy.
Not tomorrow, I unfortunately can't
can't tomorrow night.
We have a private movie cinema viewing for me and my friends for someone's birthday. We're watching Monty Python.
That's fine.
I'll
be dragging a few people in.
Holy Grail.
I'm hopefully going to have a
favorite.
I'm going to try and have a good chat about the new Muon discovery. Well, it's not confirmed yet, but it's interesting, and Well, maybe I'll have a bit of a chat about warp drives, considering we were talking about it the other day, and I thought maybe it'd be a good thing to cover something about the science behind some of that for people, because that'd be interesting. So look out for that, because I'm hoping to start that up, do one of those tomorrow. Aside from that, I'm starting to get back into being on people's streams. I've showed up on a few of these for a while anyway, but I'm still pretty busy with getting this house sorted out and everything. So how much time I can spend each day on streams is a little limited at the moment, especially as most of my streaming time seems to be during the daytime and not the evenings. But yeah, so remember to do all those good things, be nice to each other and all that. You don't have to worry about wearing a mask mostly if you're in Australia, but yeah, if you're in the US, don't be a dick and wear your mask and don't spread this disease around.
Get vaccinated.
And get vaccinated.
And don't pee on the floor either. Yuck.
Go see a doctor tonight.
Go see a doctor. Yikes.
But not Matt, because he's not that kind of doctor.
Yeah, if you come to me with medical problems, I'm just going to be like, yeah, okay. I'll fire a laser at it, but it's not going to help.
You might stop the pig on the floor if you fire a laser at it.
There are some things that lasers can help in medicine.
Yeah, not the lasers I have access to.
Get this thing off my face right here.
I'm pretty sure, Matt, if you pointed one of your lasers at them, they'd stop peeing on the floor pretty damn quick.
Or they'd pee on the floor a lot faster, depending on which one.
They would probably end up peeing on the floor more, because if I get one of the more powerful lasers I have access to, they're not going to know where the urinal is. Or the toilet afterwards.
All right,
Be careful, you want to turn into Dr. Manhattan.
Everybody's links are down in the descriptions. Please follow all these people on Twitter and go and sub to their channels if they have them. And yeah, be great to everyone and have a great day. And don't forget to hop over to Purples in half an hour's time. Bye.
Night all.
See you later.